Good evening. It is February 17th, 2026 and 6:30 p.m. and we will begin our Borough Council meeting work session, Westchester Borough. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which my Vice President Bernie Flynn can lead for us. All right, first order of business, announcing the purpose of January 28th, 2026 executive session. That was for HR reasons. We had HR conversations. Item B, announce the public hearing on February 18th, that's tomorrow night, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. to consider the adoption of an addendum to the Borough Comprehensive Plan by adopting a Recreation and Parks Master Plan update prepared by Johnson, Mirmoran, and Thompson Incorporated in association with Tool Recreation Planning titled Parks for All, the Westchester Borough Park, Recreation, and Open Space Plan. We also have announcements for the borough employees' anniversary recognition. See at the top of the list, we've got our borough manager, Sean Metrick, 5 years. Woohoo! We've got, and if you're in the room, please, stand, wave, let us know that you're here. James Ensor for 5 years. Ross Blue for 5 years. Police officers, the mayor just said. Robert Kuhn, 5 years. Keen, thank you. Thank you. Jerry Ferriola, 20 years. Go, Jerry. Also, a lot of police officers. Okay. Christopher Jones, 20 years. Kevin Garris, 25 years. And Fred DeStefano, 30 years. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for doing what you do. Next announcement, the Borough Administrative offices were closed yesterday, February 16th, 2026, in observance of President's Day. And with that, just a reminder, because the offices were closed, Public Works was also closed. Your trash will be picked up 1 day later than usual. So just remember, put your trash out the next day, not your usual day. And with that, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents, taxpayers, and visitors in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. And please be advised there's a 5-minute limit that is at the discretion of myself. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the Borough Manager's report.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for bringing the party beads. We celebrate the onset of Lent tomorrow. I prepared a written report that goes over some of our capital projects that are underway. Happy to answer any questions about that. And we also have information about the latest winter maintenance expenses, which will come up as an item of business tonight. But I've prepared remarks. They're not very long. That don't have to do with my report. I wanted to welcome, first of all, Lisa Kearns, Jerry Shapaniak, and Stephen Marvin to Borough Council. Welcome. The experience, I guarantee you, will exceed your expectations. And I hope that is in a good way. 4 years ago, Borough Council was joined by 3 new members as well. We had Sheila Vaccaro, Patrick McCoy, and Brian McGinnis join us 4 years ago. Brian signed up for a second term, which I take as a good sign. So welcome back for 4 more years. I mention these facts to point out that change and impermanence are the only constant in our work together here. So in 2022 was also my first year as borough manager, and I've shown through what I do and the mistakes I've made that it takes time to learn how the borough works. Even though I've served over 10,000 hours at this point, the magic number, if you believe in Malcolm Gladwell's writings, to get good at something. I learn new things every day, and I've learned to be patient. Sometimes it takes several years for rewards to manifest themselves. And so I encourage every member of Borough Council to approach our time together with the same learning mindset and to try not to take anything too personally as we work together. We are in a better financial position than we were 4 years ago. The general fund no longer requires an infusion of cash in January to meet normal obligations. Our credit rating has improved, as Mr. McGinnis has pointed out. Pension funding ratios are north of 90%. The capital operating reserve has grown, which allows our borough to absorb surprises like our winter maintenance expenses this year. I know there's snow in the forecast. And consider down payments on larger projects like a new public works facility. In the last 4 years, our management team underwent significant changes. And I believe that the people we have heading our departments today can succeed with the right tools and resources at their disposal. Our team's coming together, not without the occasional drama that comes with any group of people who work together as much as we do. We work on communication, conflict resolution, reporting, and adaptive planning. I demand that everybody is mentally engaged with their work and have a good reason for what they do or recommend. Thoughtful people tend to do the best work. So we're currently working on some guidance for Borough Council and staff on how communications operate between the two. The Home Rule Charter and Admin Codes set some boundaries for our roles as elected leaders, appointed staff, and employees. And the guidance we're creating is going to work within those boundaries, help council members learn, grow, promote initiatives while keeping staff accountable to their supervisors. We need to practice these skills together to be successful. Every elected, appointed, or employed person that's here in the room tonight shares council's mission, which I want to read, actually. It's a paragraph long. Westchester Borough Council resolves to retain a strong commitment to democratic principles, that's D with a small d, and always demonstrate integrity, fairness, and honesty while fostering the values and integrity of representative government through action and example. So we're constantly setting an example for people to be able to participate in local government. That's what makes local government so unique. That's why I do it professionally. At county, regional, and state levels, you don't get engaged in issues that really affect people, but at a local government, you do. Borough Council will continually advocate for active citizen involvement in local governance and recognize the right of citizens to influence local decisions. Borough Council will work effectively with the borough administration in accordance with transparent and open government practices to develop and implement policy always in the best interest of residents of the borough. So we have to, together as a team, me and the people who report to me and the elected leaders, talk about what does it mean for Borough Council and administration to work effectively together? What does that mean? And always keep the best interest of the borough residents in mind in everything that we do. I think that's something we share on either side of the podium here tonight. Where I think we need some help to meet this mission is managing dialogue, flow of information between staff, council, and the community, and to manage our disagreements. Conflict resolution requires engagement, taking risks with each other, and commitment to the overall mission. While I see council practice that in their meetings in an attempt to build consensus, at times you are going to have opposing views with one another, and that's okay. That can be settled by debate, and that's why we take votes sometimes too. But I trust that by focusing on the best interest of residents, the right choice will usually become very clear in the work that we do together. So that concludes my comments.
Questions from those that are in attendance for Sean? All right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, now on to old business. Approve the December 2025 and January 2026 Borough Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Well, wait a minute. This is, do we want to move this to consent agenda? That's how we do this. So does anyone have any questions? Yeah, all right, we good? Does anyone out in the audience have any questions on the minutes? All right, so it sounds like we're good to move to consent. All right, item B. Now, this is new for this year. It won't always be on the agenda up at the top in this way, but we did it this time around because this is how we started it this year. What we've been trying to do, what we were inspired to do is, we've talked a lot about how, we've got the comprehensive plan and it's out there, it's been out there. We don't talk a lot about how we tie things to it, have goals towards it to keep moving the borough forward proactively in that way. So this year, I challenged all of the committee chairs to come up with goals that took cues from things that we could do to help kind of keep guiding us through and working towards our plan and our comprehensive plan. So if you attended or saw any of the committee meetings last week, each committee had an opportunity. The chairs brought forth the goals that they were thinking of. The committee talked about them and maybe did some tweaking to them since the meeting, but the chairs have come to the table with goals that they would like to work on with the administration's help this year. The administration also had feedback into these goals to help shape them and help work towards them. So for tonight, the chairs will talk about what their goals are, and then for the process, so that we all align and agree on them, the goal is for the entire council to align and vote towards these goals. And these would be for 2026. With that, we will have a spot on the website where we'll keep up with this information on these goals, how we're tracking to them. The committee chairs will talk about them in their committee meetings, and we will work towards these items for the borough throughout the year. Now, we'll do other stuff for the borough, but these are just specific goals that the team has created for this year that we will be working on. So after all that ado, I will start with Bernie to talk about his public works goals.
Good evening, everyone. The Public Works Committee, which is myself, Mr. Travis, and Mr. McGinnis, we picked two topics that we're going to be working on this year. The first one is replacement of the Public Works facility. We're going to do a feasibility study and try to set the goals that the building and new construction will last at least 60 years. Site selection, either keep it at its existing site at Lacey or move it to a different location so it can grow. Funding, that what comes under Mr. Metric, and also getting grants, and redevelopment of the existing Lacey property if we decide to move the building and possibly put an elevated parking garage there. The second item is contaminated parcels in the borough. We have a lot of contaminated little parcels all the way around the borough. We're going to identify all the parcels and their environmental covenant, either it's DEP or the EPA. We're going to map all the locations designated as covenant, determine the severity of the pollution, ownership of the parcel and how long it's been contaminated, and can these parcels be redeveloped. So right off the top of the list, there's 7 that we know exactly that we're going to start looking at. But there's a lot of work because we have to go through a lot of the old maps and come up with the ideas. So that's the Public Works goals.
Does anyone here have any questions on anyone at the dais? Questions? No? Feeling good about them? Anyone in the audience have any questions on them? All right, no questions, then we can move those particular ones to consent. Public safety?
Hi, my name is Brian Travis. I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee. Also on the committee, Lisa Kearns and Brian McGinnis. These were the 3 goals up here that you see on the screen that we discussed in committee. we discussed within our committee. And the way I think about goals is sometimes there are items that you work on or you want to work on, or you want to continue working on. So stop, start, and continue. And so the first two here are starts. However, the conversation around updating the truck ordinance to try to better define what a violation is and enforce consistent enforcement, at least, or enable consistent enforcement, has been a discussion item for a while. It's been discussed in parking committee, but I also know that it kind of crosses over into public safety because the enforcement for this is the police department. So I know that a number of times, and Chief Lee's in the back there, as mentioned, that our ordinance needs to be improved in order for us to enforce where truck traffics go, including the definition of a truck. So that is something I would like to work on and get fixed this year. We've been receiving quite a few resident complaints about truck traffic, so I'd like to get that done, and probably in conjunction with the parking committee as well. The next one here is, as pointed out in fiscal year ending 2025, before budget season, we realized that there was a longtime donor, contributor of funds for the fundraising portion of EMS services for Good Fellowship that we are no longer receiving. And thus, we had a budget gap to close, and we had to do that through a couple measures that aren't sustainable. And so we need to determine how we're going to continue operating with it, either with increasing revenue, which could come in the form of a tax increase, which we're not wanting to do, or we fix it from the expense side. And so there's a couple different ways to do that. And I don't know exactly how that's going to happen yet, but this is an item that we actually need to address. So that's a big goal. And then the last here is improving neighborhood quality of life. So public safety also has the quality of life as part of its purpose and mission. And we made some improvements in this committee over the last couple of years, and I want to just continue to work on those, including, reducing illegal parking, excessive noise, and property damage in certain areas of the borough. So those are the three main ideas that I'd like this committee to focus on. Any questions from the dais? Any questions from the public, from the audience? Borough manager has a question.
Just one comment that I think we can work out in committees are some specific measurables for your third goal there that we can work on together.
Look forward to that.
All right, so I think that one too will move to consent. Parking?
Hi, we are working on three main goals. The first is to work with Westchester University. Westchester University population equals the size of the borough. They are the single largest parking demand in the borough, and we want to work more closely with Westchester University to help promote their knowledge of parking rules and encourage the university to transmit information via their quad, their emails, not just a small publication that we might send to the university, but the university will take more command of the function and encourage students to be informed about the importance of parking in the borough so that there won't be such problems with spillover and residential concerns. And that's pretty much the gist of it. The next is residential parking. We want to encourage you to use your garage, use your driveway. So if you have an empty garage, use it for parking. If you don't have an empty garage, well, spring cleaning is coming up. Pretty much I want to work on permit parking and see what we can do to alleviate some of the stresses on their streets in the area. I've worked with parking commission to get a map of the entire area, and we're struggling to start to see what we can be managed to help
with parking for the residentials. The third is the garage. The garage is one of our largest revenue producing entities in the borough. We want to encourage use of the garage and facilitate parking using the technology systems that we have and make it easier, provide more signage, direct people to the garages easier. And I'm interested in any qualms you might have with the garages. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I hope I was clear. Thank you.
Any questions from the day? Any questions from those in attendance? All right, I think we'll move those to consent as well. Smart growth?
Good evening. I'm Jerry Spaniak, Chair of the Smart Growth Committee. And on the committee with me are Mr. Travis and Mr. Marvin. We talked about a few things as part of Smart Growth, and the things that seem to make sense, real pain points, I think, for a lot of residents are the development projects within the borough and understanding where things are. Personally, even before I was elected, I had received a lot of questions. What's going on with this property, that property? So I had some conversations with some of our staff, including Ramsey and Sean. And one of the things we think would be a great source of information for all residents would be an online list of all projects at every stage of development. So when an application for a permit is first submitted to when the final product or final project is completed, we want something on the website that could be searchable. So anybody could go and look by address or look at a map and find it, locate it, and just see immediately what's the status of it, where is it, what's the estimate of completion, et cetera. And that should be available presumably 24/7. So that's our first goal. Second one is we're trying to think about what we could do to continue to add value for all of our constituents, all the stakeholders, the residents, the businesses, et cetera, is to be a source of good information. I know we've received a lot of requests for information about renewable energy. And we thought it would be great if we could be a single source of a stopping point for anyone who is interested in moving forward and didn't even know where to start. So we could pull together maybe a checklist and maybe help with some guidance. If you want to do this, here's how you can proceed. That could address if you had questions about zoning, what's allowable, et cetera, and hopefully get people started on their path to getting that completed.
All right, any questions from anyone on the day? I think all of us were at these meetings last week, which was kind of great that everyone attended them. So we all had, if we had questions, we asked them. Does anyone in the audience have any questions on the smart growth goals? Sean, do you have any questions on the smart? No. Okay, all right, consent. Finance.
Yes, I'm on the committee with Mr. Flynn and Mr. Sapaniak. Our goals are simple: balance budgets and keep strong capital reserves, keep recurring revenues and expenses, and maintain a healthy fund balance to protect taxpayers, protect the borough's credit rating. As Mr. Metric mentioned, we improved our credit rating from a AA negative to AA stable. That keeps borrowing costs low and saves all you money. Responsible long-term planning, fund a realistic capital plan that reduces deferred maintenance and avoids emergency spending. Pension and stability, ensure police and public works pensions remain solvent, affordable, and well managed. They're currently funded over 90%. And make the borough finances clear, accessible, and tied to real outcomes so residents know where their money goes. And one of the examples is something that Mr. Travis mentioned, and that would be fully funding our ambulance care through good fellowship. That's it.
Any questions? All right, any questions from those in attendance? All right, we'll move those goals to consent. And then the ACT Committee.
I'm Lisa Kearns. I'm the chairman of the ACT Committee, which stands for Administration, Communication, and Technology. And a lot of what my fellow council people have already said is going to have great impact on technology and communication. So all of those will be rolled into our goals as well. But the overarching goal is simply to develop and implement a strategy and associated policies to enhance civic and public engagement. In other words, we're going to have a number of sub-activities, obviously, under this, but the basic idea of wanting to enhance civic and public engagement is to help us make certain that our policies and actions align with the community's actual needs and try to create more of a true partnership between the community and the council so we have a better functioning town. So that's it in the broadest strokes. And then we have a number of sub-activities such as offering public education opportunities to the community on relevant topics, creating procedures in order to track all the community concerns and no matter how they come to us, whether they come to us from the website, you report a problem there, or you send an email to a borough councilman, or you come to a borough council meeting. How do we stop those things from falling through the cracks? We hear you and then it just disappears. So that's one of our goals. And also to just increase council's interaction with other bodies such as civic organizations and the valuable nonprofits in our community. We have strong ties with the business community and Westchester University. How do we expand that to some of the other organizations? So that's some of the goal, some of what we're thinking about as a goal for 2026.
Thank you. Any questions from the dais? Any questions from those in attendance? All right, so those will also be moved to consent. And we will have a space on the borough webpage that outlines these goals more clearly. And as details develop and metrics also develop, Bill has already started working on the webpage to have a space for the goals. Look at that. Look at that. Go, Bill. All right. It's like quick draw IT. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to new business. And these are our interviews for boards, commissions, and committees. At this point in time, we have Michelle McPherson for the Human Relations Commission. Carl was unfortunately unable to make it tonight. Carl, are you Carl? And Carl is here. Carl is made. Kyle is not able to make it there. Oh, Carl is here. Come on down, Carl. Sorry about that.
Hi, my name is Carl Kufel. Looking forward to potentially getting a little bit more involved in the community. And I've lived here since 2007, but there's always something, drawing me away from the borough, travel or grad school or being involved in a small business. So, I kind of want to get into the community a little bit more finally. So do you guys have any questions for me?
I have a question.
Sure.
What interests you in the Human Relations Committee or Commission?
I was really more interested in the library board. So because I'd worked in a library before, twice actually, I think that I'd like to get involved with, whatever the library can do for the community. And I'm not necessarily thrilled about getting involved in the budget process, but, I do that at work as well. So, might be able to contribute.
Okay, so are you considering this also your interview for the library, since you're up here right now? We've got you on for both things. So your preference is the library.
Correct.
But you're interested in both,
Yeah.
knowing that they're both out there. Okay.
Right. I just don't know which I could be of more help with.
Any other?
How many openings are for each of these? It doesn't
There's
say.
one vacancy for human relations. There are 2 vacancies. So 1 for Human Relations, 1 for Tree Commission, 2 for Library Board, and 1 for Zoning Hearing Board.
Are we asking him library questions as well? And right now?
Think so, since he's up here. Yes. So we don't make it.
Well, I'm sorry, we can go with the human relations or either one. I mean,
Whichever questions you have, either library or human relations.
Just a quick question. What do you understand to be the difference in the role of a library trustee versus, say, staff?
versus what?
Staff, library staff.
I mean, as former staff at a library, I mean, I just did filing, the basic Dewey Decimal System, tracking down old books. I would imagine that trustee would be more involved with trying to set a direction for the library. If there's some way that, that there's an information gap that the public wants, try and speak to that. Trying to speak to how funds are being allocated for different programs or actually for the facility itself.
As a board member, could you reflect on your style of management or?
I mean, I'm an IT manager right now. A lot of times I deal with managing conflict or giving my guys direction. Certainly getting pretty deep into technical questions. Style, just trying to keep everybody focused on what they're supposed to be doing and not going off on a tangent, to be honest. Yeah, I don't really know about my personal style. I mean, it's pretty, you kind of have to be engaged with upper management in my position, but at the same time, you're definitely pushing people into their technical areas and making sure they stay focused. So I don't know if that translates into civic government, but.
Thank you. It was a question about
What's that?
whether, if you could think on your feet, that's all.
The main focus that the new people coming on the library board has to be fundraising.
Okay.
Because fundraising is probably their biggest issue that they need to solve moving forward.
Okay.
So do you think you'd have any problems calling people on the phone and asking them to donate or doing fundraisings for the library because they're in need of a lot of money?
No, I think it'd be, I don't know how good I would be at it, but I'd be willing to do it. I mean, I imagine there's outreach to like small business as well to ask them for funds or, somehow get them involved. And obviously, there's always a list of donors. I mean, certainly Catholic school, we had to go out and run around and ask people for money quite a lot. So,
So it's not going to bother you to ask somebody for money?
no.
Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to Michelle McPherson. And Michelle, I see you similarly have applied for a couple of committees, so you can talk
I
about-
did because I didn't realize I want to be on a committee. So I put my hat in for 3. Yeah, and see if I get, something. The human relations is what I'm most interested in, the library, and then tree.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. My name's Michelle McPherson. I currently live in the Borough on Minor Street, 6th Ward.
The sweetest word in the borough.
Mhm.
I had to put that in there. And she has a very cute little dog.
Okay.
I've been in the borough for 4 years. I'm retired and want to be able to give back a little more to my community now that I have a little more time on my hands.
Do you have any background in human relations or kind of know what they do?
I was a probation and parole officer for a while. I ran halfway houses for convicted felons. I did a lot of work with people. I don't know if that qualifies me as human relations, but I know that I have worked a lot with people in my life. Try to be very fair, try to listen. Mhm.
Any other questions?
So why human relations? Why is this one that you said there, you applied for three, but this is the one of most interest to you? Why do you like this one or
Well-
most interested in this one?
Because I feel it's very important to make sure in a community that everyone is heard and everyone is seen, and everyone is represented. I am a great collaborator. I am a pretty good listener, and I'm not afraid to talk either or to speak my mind. I don't know if that's exactly what the human relations position does, but I'm just interested in people and fairness. You're welcome.
Good answer.
Any other questions from those of you up here? But Brian, he liked your answer, so.
Oh, good.
All right. All right, well,
Anything else?
well, thank you for, no, I'm.
Absolutely.
you.
I do love trees and I do love books.
All right, good.
So thank you so much.
All right. The tree commission cat did bow out, so I'm accurate on. So we'll move down to the library board. Catherine, yes. Genevieve Mack.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Genevieve Mack Dean, actually, and I am a resident of West Goshen Township. And I just happened to see in the email that there was an interest in trustees for the Westchester Public Library. That's the library that we can walk to. I have 3 young children. We probably have a lot of fines at the library, but we do use it quite frequently. I have served on a public library board previously on a fundraising committee for the Lancaster Public Library in Lancaster County. And in my professional life, I've served on a number of different strategic planning committees. So in my letter, I had mentioned that I would be more than happy to support that. I have also done some work related to buildings and real estate, so happy to help out with that. And just looking to get a little bit more involved in the community. And I love libraries. I think the Dewey Decimal System should be applied in bookstores. I don't know why they don't. And that's pretty much it.
I'm sorry, you said you worked on library boards in Lancaster County?
Yes.
Did you say strategic planning was part of that?
No, so strategic planning is part of my professional career, but I served on the Lancaster Public Library fundraising committee.
Okay, still very good background to have, obviously. Thank you.
Are you going to ask that question of everyone?
No, she answered my question. She likes to ask for money. She's a fundraiser.
I'm very good at asking for
Yeah.
money.
Raising money is very big for the library this cycle.
Any other questions? Yeah. okay.
I want to fairly ask you your management style, if you could reflect on it.
Sure. My management style, I would say, is typically described as servant leadership. So looking to see what the organization or what the group of people is that I'm looking to help lead, what they might need, and how I can help them to be most successful.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Sure.
Morgan Pater.
Hi, I'm Morgan Pater. I'm also in the 6th Ward. I live on Market Street. I'm also a mother. I have 4 children. good at asking for money because I'm used to them taking money. My professional background, I'm home now with my children, and I am looking to get more involved in the town. We've lived here since my oldest was a baby, so we're here 8 years now. And we moved from New York City. I worked, I stepped back from pursuing a PhD in criminal justice. Prior to that, I had worked in the juvenile justice system as a special education teacher. So I have master's degrees in special education and criminal justice. So I'm very interested in institutions, how institutions work together, how it can serve the community. And to Bernie's questions about fundraising, I've been thinking a lot about how the library is such a, I don't know, instrumental civic institution that I think could be better melded with other institutions within our town. We walk to the library weekly. I've been going to story time there for 8 years. There's a lot of opportunities, I think, to better engage with other businesses, the neighbors, to make the library kind of, I don't know, more, how do I say it? You know, more instrumental in interactions with the town.
Any questions? Yep.
To be fair to everybody, hi, Morgan.
Hi.
Could you describe your management style?
I think my management style is to listen first and then respond. Maybe that's part of my parenting style as well, but to really take in the information before having a knee-jerk reaction. So I think giving people the opportunity to be heard and then coming back with feedback or conversation is how it's best served me in managing others.
Do you have any experience with budgets or overseeing finances?
Not in particular. No, that's not my area. Though with I say the statistics and some of that side of things I can be a part of. Some of the quantitative things, I did some of that work in my PhD program, but not particularly related to finance. I'm married to a finance guy, so he does that.
Are your 4 children in the Westchester Public Schools?
So they're not. They're actually, I only have 2 that are school age. They're in St. Agnes, at St. Agnes. So.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jennifer Salvo?
Hi there. I'm Jennifer Salvo. I'm here seeking a seat on the Board of Trustees for the Public Library as a resident of Westtown Township. I come with a similar background to some you've heard. I am a big patron of the library. I have 2 school-age daughters in the Westchester Public School System, so we use the library frequently. And when I heard that there were board positions open, I thought it might be the right time for me to look into that. I have a diverse background professionally. I am a former teacher and professional development designer. So I work a lot with children in my past, and currently I lead a Girl Scout troop out of Westtown Thornberry Elementary School. And then when I sort of sidestepped from education when I had my children, I worked in the nonprofit world. So I do have the development background. I was the development director for a nonprofit in Phoenixville. So in that role, I was the direct communication with our individual donors, as well as corporate sponsorships, kind of all of that outreach as far as funding is concerned. Because that was a nonprofit, we also had several boards that I served as part of. So the Finance Committee, the Strategic Planning Committee, as well as the External Affairs Committee. I don't think there's a match to that at the library currently, but.
Bernie, did she answer your fundraising. Okay.
I will happily ask people for money.
Any other questions from? Stephen's got one for you.
I want to be fair to all, all the applicants. Could you describe your management style?
Sure. I think with my background in education, I am more of a facilitator of conversation. So I find that I can sort of hear all sides, but move the conversation forward. I think that's one of my strengths. And I have managed teams throughout my career. When I left teaching and was in professional development design, I did manage several teams of professionals. So I do have that experience.
Any other questions? No? All right.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
May I approach? I just want to offer, do you have any council, Mayor, I'm from the library. Do you have any questions that would help you make a decision?
No,
I think you shared an email
I've
with us.
asked
Right, no, I
questions.
just wanted to
Do
make
you
sure.
have any questions for anyone who's applied?
No,
Since
the
you're sitting-
questions were great. If it's an embarrassment of riches, really. So if whoever is not chosen, if there's other ways, please consider becoming involved in the library and the community in other ways. There's lots of opportunities and people do roll off these boards. So don't be afraid to apply again, even if you're not chosen. But
And make sure you mention who you are and.
oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, I'm Deborah Anea, and I'm a board member and the board of trustees of the Westchester Public Library. And happy to talk to anyone afterwards. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. All right, great. And then Sean Barry's at the ready for the zoning hearing board.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Barry. I live on Linden Street. I've lived here in the borough for coming up on actually a little bit over 4 years now. I live with my wife, Susie, and our dog, Gus. Many of you have probably seen him in the neighborhood walking around. We live in the 4th ward, arguably the best ward, I would say, to Bernie's comments earlier. I'm in cybersecurity software sales, so I do not have a problem asking for money. I'm quite good at it, but that's not what, hopefully that would not be part of the role that I'm interviewing for here. Anyways, why am I interested in the zoning hearing board as an alternate? So zoning dictates what can and cannot be. At least that's my simple way of thinking about things. And I think important in that is a diverse, spectrum of ideas and representation. And I'd like to serve in that capacity as someone in, the 33-year-old-esque age group. And also I think that it also gives me an opportunity to serve a community that I really appreciate, just like everyone else that's here. You wouldn't be here if you didn't care about Westchester. I love it just as much as everyone else here. And also an opportunity to learn. So being an alternate, I can still contribute where it makes sense, but also learn on the job in a sense, which I think is important, especially with my learning style. So yeah, any questions?
You have any kind of experience in dealing with zoning? I mean, how much do you know about what it entails?
No zoning experience. I think when it comes to zoning experience, it's not something that you typically pick up unless you're involved in it in some sort of formal capacity. I did read through our zoning. It was at chapter 112 on the website. I'll be honest, like coming back to it, I was always a good student, but I wasn't someone that could necessarily pick things up while reading it. It's more of a hands-on learner. So that's where I think the alternate role would be a really great way to start getting into that. And again, contributing, but also learning, while being present in the discussion and whatnot, weighing in where relevant. So.
Good, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, well, thank you. Thank everyone. Thank you to everyone who is here tonight applying for a role on our boards and commissions. The way it works, and this is also for you newbies, is we take this information back. We all ruminate about it over the evening, and then we will come back with a proposal tomorrow with who we would like to appoint to these boards and commissions. So again, thank you guys for your time, and we'll let you know tomorrow where you all land. And yes, if you want to stay and hear what else we've got going on, feel free. If you'd like to get back to your children, a lot of people with children tonight, feel free to head on out. But what we will be doing now is moving on to item B, the motion to approve support of Chester Ridley Crum Watershed Association Goose Creek Cleanup, which is proposed for Saturday, March 21st, 2026.
What does support mean?
I'll tell you.
I didn't realize you were coming up.
Hey, Lisa. Courtney Finneran, I'm a member of Ward 7, and I have been the organizer of the Goose Creek cleanup for as long as I can remember. I've actually stopped counting. I say it every year. I did it in college well over decades ago, we'll just say that. I've been running it for at least 25 years, but I've been participating for a long time. So I am here on behalf of the Chester Ridley Crum Creek Watershed Group. They put on this watershed-wide cleanup every year, and I think they have several dozen cleanup locations. Our site is the only cleanup location in the borough, and we are cleaning the Goose Creek, which is a tributary of the Chester Creek. It is a headwater stream. There is a West Goshen site that does the tippy top of our watershed, and I do right by the McDonald's. That's where they meet. There's a downstream site that meets in West Goshen, but for the borough proper, we partner with the Public Works and the borough, obviously, and we ask for your support in several capacities. So what we do is we usually meet at the Borough Public Works. And you were there several years ago. I remember I've seen a few of you at these events, but we meet at Borough Public Works and we have a little talk, and then everyone picks up their supplies. I'll show up around 8:30. The volunteers show up around 9. Everyone sort of goes out to their spots and they get in the creek and clean. The trash bags are left usually on the corners in an accessible location, and there are 2 members of the Public Works staff that we are incredibly just so grateful for their support, because they drive the truck and pick up the trash and really help us kind of get in and get out pretty quickly. I wish I had a value of how many tons of trash we picked up over the years. I probably should map that out and have that for you, but it's been tons and tons. Probably the best, the best thing that we ever pulled out was in the early 2000s. We pulled out an organ, an actual, not a body organ, a musical organ. And we made it on the cover of the Daily Local News. So that was exciting for us.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so we're just looking for support. I think that's the gist of it, if I recall. It's usually just location.
I think you're leaving out the most important fact. There's donuts.
Oh, I always bring donuts. Yeah, that's true.
And
there
a
will be
t-shirt
donuts.
if you sign up early.
Yeah.
Last year too. Yeah.
That's right. Yep. So we do have a T-shirt. The CRC group has it. I had to pack away all my shirts. There's a lot of shirts, but every year you get a shirt if you sign up. So do you have any questions?
I have my opinion on this. I've done this for the past couple of years, and it's been a really valuable experience. I can't believe how much trash that comes out of that creek.
Yeah.
And I pulled a bicycle. We had a bicycle.
Yeah.
Yes. And we were some students, and they were debating taking it with them last year. And they're like, should we take this? Try to clean it up. But anyway, it's a great event.
Yeah.
It cleans up a lot, and the team, the Public Works team that supports it, 100% keeps you from having to drag a heavy bag of trash back to somewhere. You can
Usually,
just leave it on the side, and they come.
Usually have holes in it.
Yeah. It's really awesome. So I fully support the idea of supporting you guys again this year.
I do not attend.
Come on, Bernie.
Is the only function that I don't do in the borough.
I know you.
Come on, strap on the
Because
boots.
I am afraid of snakes.
Oh, we usually find a brown snake sunning.
Yeah, and I went the first year, and I had to go through therapy.
Yeah.
Because I am deathly afraid of snakes and.
Okay,
yeah, so
I'll remember that.
yeah.
To be able to have you for dinner. You know, we have a pet snake.
I know you do. I'll meet you at Mercado.
Well, we do have waiters that you could just walk in the creek where they don't live. So
I'd sooner see Jesus. No,
fair.
no, thank you.
Any other comments? No? All right. And any, are you guys all good with putting this on consent? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
It's Courtney.
Thank you.
All right. So now we are moving on to our committees. We'll start with Public Works.
Good evening, everyone. I have 10 items under Public Works, and most of them are approvals for contracts that have already been vetted by the Public Works team, and they have looked at all the bids, and they are qualified bidders for each one of them. Number one is a motion to award the 2026 Shade Tree Maintenance Service Contract to Tremendous for $9,715. Any problems with that, committee? Okay. Number two, motion to award the 2026 landscaping contract to Andrews Lawn and Landscaping for $48,930. Number three, motion to award 2026 rain garden maintenance contract to Archie Wild for $20,336. Number four was rejected and will be addressed at a later date. That's a shade tree planting contract. Number five, motion to award 2026 street sign contract to National Highway Products, $87,458. Number six, motion to reject all bids for traffic signal maintenance. Then they turned right around and they rebid it again under number seven. We're going to table it now. Okay, motion to table traffic signal maintenance contract. I guess Mr. Anderson doesn't want to award the bid, so that bid will not be awarded. That number seven will be tabled. That was $335,000. Motion to table traffic signal. Number eight, motion to award 2026 custodial service contract for $40,266. Number nine, to approve CCSWA fee schedule for disposal at the Lanchester Sanitary Landfill. And those figures are a shopping list of numbers, but basically the tipping fee, which means when the truck pulls in, it's weighed. When it's emptied, it's weighed again, and then we pay a fee. And I believe the fee went, Mr. Metric, I could be wrong, from $84,089, from $84 to $89. It went up slightly, but not. It went up $6. Okay, so that's close enough. $84, I guess it was the tipping fee. So that I'm asking by Public Works and also vetted by the Finance Committee.
Lynn?
Yes, Mr. Metric.
I do have a couple corrections.
Okay, thank you.
To be helpful.
Sure.
I think what happened at the Public Works Committee meeting was that we tabled the custodial service contract because y'all didn't have the information in front of you. And that information is provided tonight as approved for the custodial contract to that company. We were verifying that their monthly rate that they quoted us was indeed correct, not the annual rate that they quoted us. So that's why we're making that recommendation to award that custodial bid service contract. And I think we got confused where we put the word table in this agenda.
Right.
Because in item number 7, if you look at tonight's attachments, that's the traffic signal maintenance contract. That's people that come out and program our control units and reset the traffic lights and usually in response to accidents, we see them a lot. And I will say that the low bidder was, in the recommendation letter, the low bidder was Signal Service. However, their bid was not responsible and they were missing multiple line items. Therefore, the second low bidder, Kuharchik Construction Incorporated, is responsible, and we've reviewed their qualifications and their preferences provided, and we recommend that that contract be awarded to Kuharchik, if I'm saying it right, Construction Incorporated, the second lowest bidder.
Can you state the dollar amount for the record?
It is unit prices.
No, the overall, not the overall price.
It's not-
Signal services was 336,000.
It's not quoted that way. It's quoted at unit prices, like the hourly price of like a signal technician, the hourly price of a foreman, a bucket truck. There's about 13 different hourly types of items. So although Kuharchik's is not looking at the numbers now, that's the only one that's Kuharchik is the only one that was responsive across all of those 13 types. If you look at the signal service one, even though some of those numbers are lower, like for a signal technician, they didn't quote the other mechanics, the operators, the backhoe, the dump truck. So that's why the bid is being discarded. Now, that's just our recommendation. If council wants to toss all the bids out, they can do that too. I just wanted to clarify that the recommendation was to go to.
Well, since this has come to light, and there's a large discrepancy in the line item, if you add all the different items together, Kurchek, okay, is $860 and signal service is $335. So there's a very large discrepancy there. So I would recommend, off the cuff, I would recommend the council reject the bid and let them rebid it again, because there's too much of a difference in there. That's item number 7.
But isn't the difference just because they didn't bid on a whole bunch of it?
We don't know. Yeah, I see that. It's missing. Yeah. So why don't we reject them and let them rebid it? That won't take that long.
I'm in agreement.
Anyone concerned? Questions?
Didn't you say they were not a responsible contractor?
The bid that Signal Service submitted is not responsible because they left out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line items. So even though the 5 that they did include are cheaper, they left out 7 line.
So how long was this bid out? This is kind of similar to that whole thing that we had, what was it, the last month or December, right? Where we put the bid out for the Goose Creek and we had a bunch of bids and they put in what they wanted and those were the only people that wanted to bid on it. And at the end of the day, there was only one, there were 2 bids. One was a good bid and that's kind of where we are here. So, I mean, are we really going to get any more if we put this bid out again? Or are these the organizations that bid on it and they did their best foot forward and we need to decide?
Mr. Metrick, our normal person is Lenai Electric, correct? The one that normally does all of our.
No, we've used Signal Service for a long time.
We use Signal Service. Okay. All right. So Signal Service.
Might I suggest that since the decision before council tonight is whether to put it on your consent agenda or discussion, that we put it to discussion and we settle the matter tomorrow. It gives me a day to talk to Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Discussion, yeah. Okay. Mr. Travis thinks discussion. That'll be item number 7 for traffic signal maintenance contract to get a better clarification for the low bidder. All the other items were on consent.
Yeah, any other call outs, Sean, from the other items?
Other than, it would be in order to take some public comment on these items.
Anyone know, want to make mention of anything? I see none. Okay. Number 10, a motion to direct solicitor to prepare an amendment to the ordinance 104-32 to add street sweeping to the 200 block of Woolerton Street between South Darlington and South New Street every Thursday at 2 a.m. in the morning to 5 a.m. and schedule a public hearing on March 18th for this topic. The residents that live in this block, they're very fortunate. They live, the parking lot number 10 at the county courthouse is directly across the street. So the people that live in this block won't be disenfranchised to put their cars over there overnight.
Can I just recommend, so as we started talking about this, which I think parking and public works are on the same page, we started speaking with the street sweeping operator, and we know that there are some other streets that might also need to be added. And so I was wondering if we could table this to next month and come back to Public Works with a longer list of some other streets to add, because we do know there's some areas where people are warehousing cars and that might not be getting swept. So I know you want to get this done, but since it's an ordinance change and we're going to have a public hearing, we'd like to get the most bang for our buck, if council's okay with
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense, Ms. Rayner, because we have to pay our solicitor who is sitting at the table with you guys a lot of money. And we might as well get our bang for our buck and put 4 or 5 of them on there if they're actually available. So is council okay to table this? And we'll come back with a couple more places. You okay? All right. Does the public have any comment?
Mr. Flynn, are we tabling this back to Public Works or?
Yes, back to
Okay.
Public Works Committee, yeah. Is everybody okay with that? Any public comment? All right.
All right, you just got through those. All right, let's move on to public safety.
Okay, public safety, we have 4 items that have recommendations and a 5th that I'd like to bring up for discussion with the Public Works Chair. It was a misplaced item, so I'll start with the first one. Motion to approve request from Crime Victims Center to recognize Sexual Assault Awareness Month. We've been doing this just about every spring for as long as I can remember, as an awareness campaign. We hang teal ribbons for Crime Victims Awareness Month. Sexual Assault Awareness Month, excuse me. The recommendation was to approve this 3-0 to put on the consent agenda for a vote. Okay. Any comments? All right. Anyone from the public? Audience? Yes. Yes. Come on up. Just need your name and your address.
Yes. Good morning. My name is Nelly Jimenez, and I live in Worksession.
Excuse me, can you just please spell your last name?
Jimenez, Jimenez. Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. So I appreciate that you voted for transparency regarding whether this township or our borough may enter into a 287G agreement. That transparency.
That is not the item that we're discussing right now.
You said that.
No,
is the safety?
No, we're discussing a motion to approve the request for Crime Victims Center recognizing Sexual Assault Awareness Month by hanging teal ribbons. That's the item that we're talking about right now.
Okay, you didn't mention the
We
fourth.
we will get to the other items.
Okay,
So
I'll
we're
wait.
doing these one at a time. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on to number 2, which is a motion to approve the resolution for Westchester Borough Emergency Operations Plan. We have an emergency operations plan. This is actually to approve the resolution for that plan. We don't actually get to see the plan because the plan has information in it that would be unbeneficial if we shared it. So, but anyway, we had a committee recommendation to approve the resolution 3-0. We'd like to move this to the consent agenda for tomorrow night. Any comments? Any from the audience? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to number 3, which is a motion to direct the solicitor to draft an ordinance to require Borough Council approval on any 287G cooperation agreement prior to participation by the Westchester Police Department in immigration enforcement. This essentially codifies and puts into municipal law policies that we have in place now and are following. But the process of council approval and allowing for public discussion creates greater transparency if the borough were ever, and that's if they were ever to change its position. So that is this item. The committee recommended adopting The draft that we have up here that you see on the screen, it has been updated since we had discussion. But to move this to the next phase of approval by having the solicitor finalize this draft ordinance and have a vote on it tomorrow night, discussion and vote on it tomorrow night. The recommendation was 3-0 by the committee. Any questions or comments?
I have a couple of comments that I'd like to make. First of all, I'd like us to reconsider this ordinance. I think the content is wonderful. I think the emotion and the need for it is accurate. I am concerned that after talking to a few people, that perhaps Borough Council is overreaching by creating the ordinance. You are taking a jackhammer to kill an ant. It's not necessary. And I would say this, there has been some erroneous statements made in terms of council people and mayors come and go. Chief John Green, he was chief from 1976 to 1999, 23 years. Chief Scott Bond, he was chief from 2000 to 2020, 20 years. Chief James Moore, he was chief from 2020 to 2024, 4 years. Chief Josh Lee, he has been chief since 2024. I believe he has another 10 or 15 years left in him as chief, if not more. That would be his discretion. Chiefs historically have stayed chiefs in Westchester, Pennsylvania for longer than council people, for longer than mayors. The policy set by chiefs of police is what drives the police force, not the ordinances, but the policies of the chiefs. I am reminded of several years ago when there was the confusion and conversation about when Roe versus Wade was overturned and everyone was up in arms and concerned that in Pennsylvania and in Westchester, the police now had to be governed and told to make sure that they did not impede people from going to the Planned Parenthood in Westchester. It was never an issue. The police had never impeded or stopped people from going to Planned Parenthood, but it was presented as if it was a problem that had to be solved. This ordinance is being presented as a problem that has to be solved. You talk about money, you talk about balancing the budget. This is a problem that is not a problem because if there was conversations, open conversations with me as mayor and Chief Lee, and I know there was conversations with Chief Lee, and I know that he told you the policies of the borough police. We put it in writing so that we could assure everybody that, yes, this is our policy. We thought that being, as someone suggested, in the shadows, that this was the way to go. Sometimes in the shadows, you get work done. Underground Railroad was in the shadows, and a lot of people were saved. In the shadows can get people to safety. And instead of creating issues when there are no issues, we need to be doing as Kennett Square Police are doing and as Kennett Square is doing, having a network of people who are delivering food safely to the brown and black people that need it, who are taking them to the doctor's offices, taking them to school. There's literally ICE sitting from schools to apartments, and they take them from one place to the other. This is what good meaning white people need to do. Your intentions are good. It's totally good, but this is not what is needed, because this police chief has been doing the right thing before you even came up with the idea of what was right. They've been doing it. They've been practicing it. And now, because of what's going on in Phoenixville, you want to alert, sound the watch, sound the bell, and act like there is a problem in the Borough of Westchester. The Borough of Westchester Police have never, ever profiled immigrants. The Borough of Westchester Police have said they will never, ever profile immigrants. However, I would suggest that this ordinance is overkill. You're taking a hammer, you're taking a sledgehammer, you're taking a whatever to kill an ant. And I'm concerned that you're killing the very people that you say you want to protect. This is not a problem, but you want to spend money for ordinances, for solicitors, for hearings, to make it a problem, as if you are solving the problem. The problem is not solved. ICE is in our community. ICE is going to be here. They have been here. They will be here. The problem is bigger than Westchester. How we can actually help, for those of you who don't protest, I can't say if I've seen everybody up here on this dais at protests or rallies. I have not. But what I can say is there's something you can do. There are resolutions being done in other townships. And I met with plenty of the mayors today, and I do not think that you will solve the problem, because when ICE comes here for full force, there will be a problem. And I hope that every white face is here that agrees with this, is out there on the front line protecting brown and black people, because that's who's being targeted. That's what that's who we need to help. And I think you've lost sight of where you're going. I think this is overzealous. The intent is good. The content is good. But you've overreached, and clear cut in the homeroom charter, this is not your purview. But if you make it your purview, you set a dangerous precedent that will have to go to court. And I think that we need to think wiser, we need to think smarter, and we need to think with our brain and not just with what we think are well-meaning, good, upstanding things to do. We need to protect the community we say we want to protect, and do it in a way that's prudent and compassionate for that community. And I have lots of contacts, and I have lots of people that I have talked with, and some very good ideas of what they're doing in other communities, like Kennett Square, who get targeted every single day. Since you've raised the consciousness of the community, I think you need to go one step further and protect the people you say you want to protect, instead of grandstanding and making ordinances that are not helping the people we want to protect. And I think that's what's important here. And you've just overreached. And I think that we need to look at this again. A resolution would have done the same thing. But guess what? In the former incident I gave, guess what? In the last 3 or 4 years, people have managed to get to Planned Parenthood. They've managed to go there without any problem because not one police person has stopped them. And I would suggest to you that the people that need help will get the help if we as a community gather around them and help, and that the police will continue to do what their chief tells them to do. Thank you very much.
Mayor, I respectfully disagree with you under two points. This ordinance, as I read it, basically protects the borough from any engagement of any department, especially the police department, by assisting the federal government. To your point, you wrote a very outstanding policy. Resolutions and ordinances are two different things. And I'm going to read it to you, to everyone, because I didn't understand the difference. So when you don't learn something, when you don't understand something, you look it up and you try to read it. An ordinance, which this is up on the screen, is legally binding local law passed by municipalities governing body, like a city council, that regulates public conduct or property with violations resulting in fines and penalties. Ordinance have the authority the same as law, state statutes within municipality limits. Under policies, this is with the police department and the mayor wrote. Here's the two differences. A policy, conversely, is an internal guideline or principle that directs administrative decision-making and operations, typically without the force of a law. Policies are guidelines or administrative rules, not laws, that help interpret and apply the laws. So and a resolution is just a document that says that we all agree not to do something or to do something. So we have three things, Mayor, that you talked about. Resolution does nothing except it's like kissing your sister. An ordinance is a law, and a policy is just conversely an internal guideline. And in order so we don't fall into the trap of this 287, I think my personal opinion is that we should have an ordinance that even though it has nothing to do with the Home Rule Charter, this is a standalone ordinance that basically says that if a department wants to engage the federal government, all they have to do is come here to Borough Council and we have a public meeting. So that's my opinion. Wait a minute, you didn't stop the mayor. The mayor went on as a Philip.
Sorry, keep going. The one thing you said, I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to.
So that, I read the ordinance, I read what a policy is, I know what a resolution is. So if we're going to do anything, it would be an ordinance to protect the borough. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would respectfully agree with you. I know what an ordinance is. I know what a policy is. My point is that policies followed by police are held longer than ordinances because police chiefs stay longer than council people, which was pointed out that council people come and go and mayors come and go. Chief Lee will be here when all of y'all are gone, if God wills it so.
Amen.
Yes, amen to that. And that policy that he has put in place will be here longer than an ordinance because the next sweep around you don't know who's in charge. In fact, the council can turn around and try to force the police to enter into a 287G. If depending on perspective, if you consider that the wrong perspective, which I do. So my only point is that everybody comes and goes. You're redoing ordinances every single day, not every single day, but we're redoing ordinances every year, but policies last longer. And I think it's overkill because one of the things in this ordinance says that the Westchester Police shall not initiate, enter into, or renew as if there were a policy in place, as if we had considered it. Very provocative language. There's never been an instance where we've considered it. And so why is even the word renew in there? But I've said what I've said. I feel that this is a point of issue and that this needs a legal ruling before a decision is made, whether you can even make it or not.
All right. I'm gonna give my opinion since everybody's giving opinions. So, all right. Yeah, okay, I told you. I've played this out in my head. First of all, let me be clear. When others of us did not try to propose anything, Councilman McGinnis and Councilwoman Kearns came to the table with something. So thank you. Something that you want to do to help. Thank you. There was a lot of conversation at the last meeting about suspenders and belts and all of these things. I look at this ordinance and I played it out in my head. I played like the long term and I see it as a pair of broken suspenders. Like I actually am not sure what it accomplishes. As much as like there's a good heart to it and there's a good idea behind it, like I'm playing it out in my head and I'm like, okay, mayor's gonna, so if we went into this, which again, it goes back to what the mayor said and what Chief Leah said, they have no intention of ever going into one of these agreements. Never was there, there was never something that they even thought of that we had to worry about. These are the people that we elected, that we trust, that our community elected and have this perspective. And that is part of the reason why our community elected them. Mayor's gonna be around for another, for 4 years. And Chief Lee, again, I guess 20, 30 more years as the chief, according to Mayor. He will be, yeah, you'll be here. But nonetheless, the point, my playing out in my head. So I'm like, all right, so at the very least, we might need to worry about someone proposing to go into this agreement 5 years from now, maybe, if Chief Lee's, and that would only be if for some reason our entire community shifted perspective to the majority, because I know there's some people that actually would like, in our community, there are people that actually would like ICE to do what they're doing. That's not my perspective, but there are people out there in our community, like not everybody, it's not 100%. So, but our entire community, our borough would have to shift to a majority opinion of that way to then vote in a different mayor with a different mind that would then potentially want to appoint a different chief and a different police force of that mindset. Similarly, most likely then council members would be voted in with different mindsets as well that would want to go into that agreement. So you're thinking like finally, by the time down the line, when somebody may want to go into this, probably our community would have shifted and that's what the community would have wanted. I don't know. So I'm like, so is this really doing anything? I don't know. The other thing is down the line too. What's to say our government doesn't go into a 287H? What if they don't create a 287H in 5 years? That would totally negate this 287G. And then Bernie, you just said, oh, well, we'll just blanket it. No federal government contracts at all without a conversation. What about the FBI? I said that when I proposed this, I was talking at home about this to my boyfriend, and I forgot to say that it was just immigration enforcement related, right? And he freaked out. He's like, no, you're telling me you don't want the police to go to work with the FBI or the CIA if there's something like undercover that they have to do? You want them to go through counsel? That's ridiculous, right? Like, we don't want that. You don't want that. Right. So it would have to be this pinpointed thing that could change in the future, and that our entire mindset of our community would have to change in the future to actually make it even a risk. So So I don't see risk now, and I don't really see risk in the future that we have to mitigate with something like this particular ordinance. Again, I applaud you guys for trying to think of something to do to help the community, but I've heard of other things in Lower Merion. You're saying Kennett Square, of people in the community and things that they're doing to truly help the individuals that need support in a different way, and not just with an ordinance. And I'd rather kind of talk and, find ways to do those things. That would be my opinion. I'd want to help, but I'd rather kind of understand what some of these other things are and try to be part of that solution. I mean, if it passes, it passes. If the majority of us sitting here say.
Point
that
of
they
order,
want
are
it-
we going to keep going on and on? There's 5 minutes. People have 5.
I'm almost done. If it passes, it passes, but I don't think it technically does a whole lot for the community. That was my last sentence.
Go next. And again, I mean, I can't disagree more with President Shimoni and the mayor. I mean, it specifically lays out what the ordinance can and cannot do. And it's sound. It's been vetted legally. It's been vetted by our solicitor. It's been vetted by the district attorney, the FOP. We even met with Chief Lee, Chris Pielli, a lawyer. It was vetted by the sheriff of Bucks County, a lawyer. So again, people need to know what they're talking about before they make these accusations about what it can and can't do with the ordinance. And yes, it would require police time, training hours, equipment, and technology, and public funding. I mean, imagine if we got into this, or if somehow we entered into it through a back door with a new police chief and a new mayor. Again, Chief Lee isn't Moses. He ain't going to be around 500 years. I wish he was. He's a great guy, but he ain't going to be around, and that's the whole point. And as far as what Ms. Shimoni mentioned, yeah, things do change. This was a Republican town about 20, 30 years ago. Okay, so let's wake up here with this. So let's start being a little bit realistic about what's going on and what this does. And I'm glad the mayor did come around, because she mentioned with Bill Ratu that she was for the ordinance. It was even in the paper. But just as quickly as the mayor's statement can be rescinded, it can be said, it can be rescinded by a future police chief. That's why a statement and a policy isn't enough. It means nothing. It's temporary. It's as temporary as maybe what the mayor thinks tomorrow. So that's actually,
Don't split hairs.
well, I am, because you did that, and I'm speaking. But statements are
Hold
not
on,
policy.
Mayor.
But statements are not policy. No, you lied. You lied about everything. You
Let's
just-
stop accusing each other. Brian, you're allowed to say what you want to say. Mayor said what you
And I
want to
have
say.
the floor.
Okay, yeah,
I have the
okay.
floor. Okay. Statements are not, excuse me? Statements are not policy. A verbal agreement is not worth the paper it's written on. Mayors come and go, police chiefs come and go, council members come and go. Municipal ordinances endure. They don't change. Do you know how you have to change an ordinance? You have to go through a committee. Then it has to get voted on in council. And then it has to have a public hearing. That's how an ordinance change. I mean, that's ordinance 101, common sense. Now, some have suggested that even debating an ordinance puts a target on the immigrant community. I disagree. I think the mayor laid out her statement. I agree with her statement. But the reality is that ICE is already in Chester County. We've seen enforcement actions in Kennett Square, Phoenixville, Malvern, just to name a few. They just purchased a massive facility in Berks County, 45 minutes away. So pretending the issue, doesn't exist, doesn't protect anyone. But what protects everyone is transparency. And that's what this ordinance does. It allows the public to debate it openly and not made unilaterally by a mayor or police chief. Not quietly, not behind closed doors. And if you don't believe me, look what happened in Bucks County. The sheriff entered into the agreement by himself. And what happened? 911 calls dropped. Immigrants, whether documented or undocumented, stopped calling the police. Witnesses disappeared. And when people were afraid to call for help, what happens? The mayor mentions people roam in the shadows. What happens when people roam in the shadows? Crime. Does anyone want that? That's not safer policing. That's how communities become less safe. This ensures transparency, and any proposed agreement must be disclosed in advance. Residents, whether he being on the political left or right of the spectrum, deserve to know what authority would be granted, what training would be required, and what cost of taxpayers, and how long it would last. It protects taxpayers. A 287G agreement uses borough resources, police time, training, equipment, technology, and funding. Oversight is not optional, it's a responsibility. That's what we're all up here for. It respects the mayor's authority and preserves law enforcement cooperation. Ms. Shimoni's point, you still cooperate with law enforcement. Police will continue to comply with warrants, court orders, subpoenas, and all required information sharing. Nothing in this ordinance prevents officers from doing their job daily and legally. What it does prevent is a backdoor policy change. It ensures no future administration can quietly commit borough resources or fundamentally alter public safety without council knowledge and public consent. This ordinance is narrow. It's legally sound, as I mentioned. It's been vetted. It'll move through committee. It'll move through work session and at a public hearing. That's exactly what democracy should do, not by decree, not by a press release, but through transparency, accountability, and the will of the people. That is why we should pass the ordinance, and that's why we should do it now.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. At this point in time, we're going to move this to discussion for tomorrow night. Clearly, there are different opinions, but we want to open it up for public comment, at least to hear. I know some people have, Ms. Jimenez, you're here. Your turn. Let's go.
Thank you. My name is Nelly Jimenez. I live in Worksession. I'm here tonight because when I heard about the ordinance, I was very concerned. I am an immigrant. I have lived in Chester County, Westchester for last probably 26 years on and off. And actually, when someone asked me, "Where is your accent from?" I said, "From Westchester." And that's where, so I am an immigrant myself, right? And I have lived in this borough and outside the borough in West Goshen for a long time. And my kids went to school in the borough. I have always been in the borough, and I have a very much respect for the police. My concern with what is happening right now is I just want to make sure, I think that you all agree that we shouldn't be signing 287G. And that's what I'm here, because I want to make sure that we don't sign 287G. I'm sure our chief of police agree. It is important, though, to make a statement and make sure that it's more permanent than only a statement. And I'm gonna leave you guys with your relationships and to decide about that. But of course, I would not want 287 agreement. And I do support local law enforcement, but as we have seen, no in the other side of the country, 287G puts our county, our borough in a very difficult situation. I have seen, and I know because I'm from the Latino community, how we have been targeted for our color of our skin because the way that we speak. This is not something that is over there, it's here too. It's happening in the southern part of the county. I worked with the motion workers for 11 years, so I know a lot of people there. Section 287G allows local offices to carry out federal immigration enforcement functions under ICE supervision. We do not want that. We also do not want to put our local police in a situation where they can be sued, and we are going to be sued because of that racial profile and the violation of civil liberties for people in our area. So I just wanted it to let you know, as a immigrant, as a citizen of this country that I love, and I have dedicated my years and years for working for, that I want to make sure that whatever decision you make sure that we do not ever collaborate and sign an agreement 287G. Thank you.
Jill Offenberg, Ward 1. I do want to start by saying I do have a concern, Brian, when you say that anyone that's disagreeing with this is uninformed. Not even, I mean, thank you for just looking up at me right now, because you're not even looking at the people that you think are disagreeing with you. I have a concern. I'm not in disagreement with this. Just like the mayor was vocalizing, of course we don't want to see something like this go through. And as your own president of the council was saying, a lot would have to happen for that to even go through. And it's not just a sheriff, but you're talking about majority of the council changing over. You're talking about the police chief. You're talking about the mayor. My concern, and you're saying that this has been vetted, is how many brown and black people have you talked to find out their perspective? I don't care what the white male politicians are saying. I'm an executive director of a local nonprofit and a pastor at a church, and I've sat down and heard an immigrant person that is undocumented that I work with say, the key here is to not bring attention to ourselves. I've heard the mayor say that she doesn't want a spotlight on Westchester. No one wants a spotlight on Westchester, but we are bringing more attention by even talking about it with this ordination, which isn't ordinance, which is not necessary considering how our police force functions and the policy that they're committed to, the mission statement that they have. So my concern, and I hope that you take this into consideration when you're discussing this further amongst each other, is how many immigrants have you spoken to about this? I appreciate how passionate you are. We all are. Every person we heard stand up here last week is passionate about the safety of our community and making sure that no one is targeted, making sure people like you are not targeted. And we all want the same thing, but the concern that I'm hearing from our Black and our brown residents is that they don't want the attention to be on Westchester. Yes, we have ICE in the community. Yes, they're opening offices right down the road from us. But when they see that we're putting this forward, what's it going to do? I just want to encourage you before you jump into this is to talk and listen, just listen to them and hear what they're saying, because their concern is that it's drawing attention to us. Thank you.
And what you said, Jill, is very important. Let me just say, some of us have made a real effort to listen to the immigrant community. And I just want to quote one person who's the executive director of the Latino Hispanic American Community Center. And she says, quote, "While from the outside, the situation may appear calm, the reality within the community is very different. Fear, economic instability, and legal uncertainty are impacting every aspect of daily life for immigrant families, regardless of citizenship status. It may look calm to us. In the community, it is not."
Doesn't look calm. We don't think it looks calm.
Well, you're pretty much saying we don't want us to be a target.
Yes. Oh, hold up a second. Let me just clarify that.
I'm not saying that they want it to be calm. I'm not saying that we think it is calm out there. They don't want to draw attention to the community by us saying, we're going to stand firm against ICE and what they're doing out there. We're not going to be the next Phoenixville, you know, and have all these clips going online. What they're saying is they don't want attention drawn to the community. Even talking about that is it's going in the newspapers, it's going online, it's going viral. People are talking about it. And what I'm hearing them say is we don't want it talked about. There's not a problem to them that needs to be solved from our police force. Our police force is not, they're not cooperating with them because that's the policy. Federal and local are separate.
And we see things differently.
So we might see things differently, but I'm listening to the immigrants. And I know you said you talked to another executive director of a nonprofit that works with the vulnerable population, but really listen, because I don't think you're even listening to what the mayor's saying, because that's her concern, is that it brings more attention. It's not going to affect you. It won't affect you.
But the question is, a lot of the immigrants can't stand up. I can't.
Yes.
He can. They can.
Yes.
Because the brown and black communities cannot stand
But
up.
we're bringing attention from ICE that we are a community that's going to stand up against them. That's the concern.
For those of you who have not met me before, my name is Lisa Dorsey. I've been here on that side of the dais not so long ago. I'm not going to take up the time and say a lot of things that have already been said by Madam Mayor and Nicole Shimoni, President. I do want to echo what Jill was saying, is I think that you need to have conversations with the immigrant community. You need to have conversations with people that look like me, that look like the mayor, people who are concerned about their children, grandchildren getting to and from work and school. You need to think about, you need to go to Giant at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and see the people that are there with 3 and 4 grocery carts full of food, buying food for their neighbors because their neighbors will not come, are afraid to leave their homes to get food for their families. And I encourage you, Mr. McGinnis, to collaborate with your teammates up here and have conversations versus dictate what you think is right versus having a conversation and coming to a compromise around how we can make this work for everyone. And it's not just about you and what you think is good for everyone. It's about the community and protecting, you know, I do think what you're trying to do is good. I think how you're going about it is wrong, and we can improve upon that process. And I'll leave it there.
Good evening. My name is Curry Malat. I live on Matlack Street. And I just have, I guess, like 3 points. And I guess I want to just start by reiterating what a lot of people have said. And that is, yes, like whatever this body decides, whatever ordinances you pass, whatever laws you pass, should be weighted against what's in the best interest of the immigrant community. Like, absolutely. The second thing that I wanted to say, I also have a lot of connections and friends in the immigrant community, and what they've been telling me, and they don't feel like they can safely come here and express what they're seeing and based upon their experiences. And nobody has said this here tonight, but I'm going to say it because they asked me to say it. I haven't had the experience, but lots of people have. And what they're telling me, what I've heard, is that the Westchester Police Department is already collaborating with ICE based upon their experiences. This isn't me. This is what they're telling me. Like, look, we don't feel safe. Westchester Police is already collaborating with ICE. We've experienced it. We've been picked up and dealing with ICE and the Westchester Police Department together. And so they feel a lot of mistrust. They're scared. They don't know what to do. And yes, I've heard those sentiments, like we don't want more of a spotlight on here, but we don't know the surge that's happening in Berks County, the ICE setting up offices down the street by King of Prussia. There's something, obviously something is happening. We don't know what it is. I would just say, whatever you decide, it should be weighted against what's in the best interest of the community. The last thing that I wanted to say is that ultimately it's the people that will defeat ICE. In Minnesota, Operation, what was it? Operation Metro Surge is being drawn down because of hundreds of thousands of people coming in the street protesting against the murder of Renee Good and then Alex Preddy. That ultimately, and that's a message that I would like everybody, all the citizens of Westchester to hear. Ultimately, it's up to us to defeat ICE. The Trump administration, their program, their agenda has taken a major hit in Minneapolis, in the Twin Cities, and that's at the hands of the people standing up for social justice, for what's right, against this terrorist surge, against the scapegoating of our immigrant friends, family members, co-workers. Those are the three things that I wanted to say. Whatever's in the best interest of the community. I'm going to say it again. What I'm hearing is the police department is already collaborating with ICE, like in many communities, not formally, but behind the scenes. And it's up to us, the people, to do what's right. Thank you.
Any other? All right, Sean, and then Chief Lee, you wanted to make some comments too? Okay.
Sean Berry, Linden Street. Yeah, I mean, policies, they last as long as careers, but we've got plenty of ancient ordinances that still have lasted the test of time. And so for that reason, I am actually for the ordinance. Reason being is it improves transparency and accountability of our local government and our taxpayer resources. Pretty straightforward there. And it does it over the long haul. So I'm actually excited for the long-term benefit here. We've all talked about how short careers can be and all that. So I think this could be great. And it also gives our police, it was already brought up, I appreciate that. It gives our police another layer of protection, right? We don't want to put them in a situation that they don't want to be in either. And then of course, all the legal stuff that Mrs. Jimenez brought up. I thought that was an excellent point as well. So I think this enshrines what most people just want out of their government, which is, accountability as well as transparency. So for me, it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. And then, I feel like, this is a hard conversation. But because it's hard is all the more reason to do it, in my opinion. We have the choice, we have the initiative, we have the people's will here. And this is the opportunity to push back. If we don't take it, we may not only regret it, but we also, our inaction may lead to more emboldening, power grabbing. So I'll leave it at that, but appreciate it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Josh Lee. I'm the police chief. For any of you who have not met me, it's my pleasure. I do think there's a wonderful irony in the fact that this board and this panel is debating the several ways to best protect our vulnerable residents. And I take a moment to recognize that, as passionate as we are debating specifics here, we're definitely more on the same page than we're not. And that's worth noting. And I don't personally or professionally oppose any of the substance of the ordinance. But I am the police chief, and I operate within guidelines of a budget that's approved by council. I come to council for certain approvals, budget related. I'll be asking later in this meeting for council to approve the promotion of 4 fine officers to higher ranks within this Westchester Police Department. I hope to come to this council in June or July and ask for your approval to hire at least 3 new police officers. And I'm reminded by that one of the reasons why we do have the finest law enforcement agency in the county is that we take such care to hire such good people. I've said that every time I've brought names before this body. I've heard other police chiefs say the same thing. We hire the very best. We train them as best we can so that we do have the best police department for all of the Westchester residents. My issue with this ordinance is that I have one boss. The mayor is the boss of the police department. The mayor is my boss. That comes from the Home Rule Charter. My concern with an ordinance like this that approaches directing police department operations is that, with the respect for each one of you, I do not believe it's council's job to direct the operations of the Westchester Police Department. The mayor is elected by the residents of the borough, and it is the mayor's job with me to direct the operations of the Westchester Police Department. And while I agree 100% with everything that's in the ordinance, because great care went into crafting it, there may be a time that this body disagrees with how the police department is run. And that's an undertaking for the mayor, not for council. And again, I say that with all the respect in the world for this body and for the people on it and for those that I know and for those that I'll soon get to know. And I'll leave it at that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't address the one of the last comments that the Westchester Police is cooperating with ICE. Insofar as the commenter made that comment, we are not cooperating with ICE in the enforcement of any immigration enforcement. It's just not something we do. I appreciate the time.
All right, with that.
Let me just make 3
Nope,
sentences.
no, tomorrow. Yep, you come prepared, come with we're good for now. We're going to leave it with the chief. Move to discussion. Brian, I'm going to give you back your committee. Sorry. Thank you, everyone.
I guess I can't make a motion to adjourn after that, right? All right. Yeah. Four, motion to approve resolution and memorandum of understanding for Westchester Regional Emergency Response Team Agreement, which is shown up here on the screen. This was something that we actually extended, and then we have the
If it looks familiar, we approved it last September.
Yeah.
And then it circulated around 7 other municipalities, and then it slightly changed in 6 or 7 minor but meaningful ways. So we're getting the revised, regurgitated version tonight.
So the committee recommended approving this. This is our agreement with East Bradford, and so on and so forth. So we'd like to add that to the consent agenda for tomorrow. The last item here, yeah. Oh, sorry. Public comment. See, I'll have to talk to you about it. You're the chair, so I'm introducing the item, so it's, I guess usually, okay, all right. All right, the next item, I see no public comment on that item, so I'm moving to item number 5, which is a motion to approve the bid request to install flags on streetlights downtown to celebrate America 250. This is what this will look like. The reason why there's no committee recommendation is because it was asking for an appropriation of funds from the Public Works Committee, and this was discussed in public safety. So that's why I wanted to bring it to you, Chair. I don't know if you've looked at this item or not, but it's a fairly material cost, but it was asking for something, so that's why there's no recommendation. Otherwise, we would have recommended doing this. Mr. O'Brien's here if you want to chat.
So cost-wise, we would cover all the costs of the physical purchase. The ask is that the Public Works Department just help us with the installation. They have the 16-foot A-frame ladder. You know, I can do Gay Street. There's their smaller light poles, but the larger ones on High and Market Street, I would need some assistance. They're simple flag holder with a band that goes around and you just screw it to tighten it to the pole. There's some already on East Gay Street. That's the concept that we're going for. The idea here is with America 250 to expand the attractiveness of Westchester outside of just those history lovers like myself who are drawn to doing walking tours and lectures, create some eye candy in town by painting the town a little bit more red, white, and blue. And if you look at historical photos of Westchester, through Westchester's, birthdays themselves or the centennials in 1976 and past years, there was a lot of bunting throughout the downtown. We're hoping to kind of recreate that in Westchester.
I got a question. Remember how Sheila was saying in one of her last meetings, how she'd love to continue to brand the Westchester flag? What if it was like every other, like US flag, Westchester flag, US flag, Westchester flag, or something like that to kind of pull it together?
Yeah, I mean, we could, we could work with that. I know where to purchase the American flags, since that's pretty easy. I'd have to talk to somebody about the installation of purchasing borough flags and where I can get those. There's also a 250 flag out there. We wanted this just because it was kind of like evergreen. And so like, whether it's for July 4th, our idea is to keep this up through like the Veterans Day, so that when we have the Veterans Day parade, the town is looking good for that as well. But when we have those flag holders, we can keep them up. They'll be up there for a while, so we can swap in flags in future years once we get this initial installation off the ground. Yeah. And this is something we could do year in, and once they're up, I can easily just go around like I do with the Christmas lights and put the flags in, for future 4th of July's, future Veterans Day parades, things like that.
So all the existing brackets that are up there now, we're going to remove all of them because it would be cluttering everything up there, correct, Public Works?
Those are the banner arms that you're referencing, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the one thing, and so where our hope is to put this on Gay, High, and Market Street. High Street, we're going to do a little bit of homework just because it doesn't have any car spaces. So just want to ensure with PennDOT and everybody the clearance for like 18-wheelers that come through town. Gay and Market Street, they're protected by the parklets. So we won't have that same issue on Gay and Market Street. So once we get the approval from council that you're okay with the concept, we'll go out with Public Works and pinpoint each individual light pole that we would like to see a flag go onto.
Do you know the individual cost of the American flag?
It ranges depending. I mean, we want to get a somewhat durable flag, so we're looking at about anywhere from like $30 to $50 per flag, because that would include the pole installed
It fits in with the cost of our borough flags.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, these also come with the ones I've been looking at have the pole pre-attached to the flag.
Okay.
Just because to make sure it's properly secured, the wind wouldn't take it or anything like that. I didn't want to like secure them myself and deal with wind damage for further down the line.
I have a question. I just wonder how you're going to deal with the flag etiquette. I mean, there's specific etiquette as regards to flags, and I wonder how you're going to address it.
In terms of like if we need to lower the flag, in terms of like
They're lowered when they're raised, when they're weathered, when they're torn, when they're ripped, all of that.
the weather torn or ripped, I'll go around and be able to take them down. The hard part here is just installing the actual flag pieces. But I mean, if this is not a concept council wants to move forward with, they're your light poles. So that's, completely at council's discretion of how you want to move forward with that. This was just a unique idea to try and create some buzz in Westchester.
I like the concept too. We couldn't give a recommendation, but if everybody's okay, we could.
I like the concept, but to the mayor's point, that the laws of flying a flag are you don't fly it at night unless it's lit, which if they're on a flagpole, I think that's probably okay, but you don't fly it in the rain, obviously. So
You don't fly in the rain? All the flags do fly in and the courthouses does. I mean, I can look into that, but yeah, they all seem to.
Jerry's right about the light at night, though.
They're all like, they'll be illuminated.
Okay.
And the county doesn't take their flags down hardly ever.
Mhm.
Because I listen to them bang all day long.
But I mean, it's completely up to council's discretion on this. This was just an idea we had in how to create some new eye candy in town.
You guys like the borough idea for every other?
Do actually, yes. I don't want to throw a monkey wrench in the work he's already done and derail it by any means. I like it, but I don't want to create undue, he's already done a lot of work and I don't want to ask John to step up and do even more. But if it's an easy thing, I like it.
I mean, if it's the concept, I mean, we're working collaboratively with the working group under the mayor's office with this. So if there's specific, like, you want us to workshop out, like, if you're okay with the policy that we can move forward with the concept of it, and then if there's additional details you want us to kind of hammer within the working group, we'd be happy to be collaborative on that.
I would suggest you still use a modicum of police flag etiquette because you're going to have a lot of angry vets calling, saying something.
Sure, I'll reach out to the VFW. And,
If it's a small flag like this on a light pole, it does not have to fly or flag etiquette as long as it's illuminated. It can stay up 24 hours a day. As long as it's illuminated, the VA Veterans Affairs rules say that it does not have to come down.
Great. So each of them would be illuminated. Is that your?
yeah, because they're going to be all on the light poles, so they're going to be in a lit area.
Because that flag looks pretty big.
So this is AI concept. This was just to give you a concept of what it looks like. This is not an actual flag that exists currently.
Okay.
I just wanted to create some kind of visualization for council to see what the concept was going to be. So I took a photo outside of my office and.
So what is the actual flag measurement?
The one we were going to work on was, I believe, like a 20 by 30 inch. I had I believe that was the measurement we were going with. There's obviously varying sizes that we were going with, looking at going. So I was going to purchase some, like one or two, the ones that it currently exist, and kind of get a feel for what it looks, because it's going to be hard to say without having a physical flag up there and seeing what it looks like. No, I wasn't going to purchase them without approval from the council that this was an idea you want to move forward with, because otherwise I'd have a lot of flags with nothing to do with them.
So we could consider maybe putting up the borough flag also, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're completely open to that. I just, in terms of the size, I haven't purchased anything yet until I get the green light here.
Consent.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Cool. Moving on to parking.
I'm sorry. And the speaker on. So the motion is pretty clear to update handicap parking. Again, it's done twice a year. And I don't know if any other comment that you'd care to make about the motion. Yeah.
No, we're just updating the annual update of the handicap ordinance. I know Nicole had pointed out a couple, and then we'll end up either adding or removing any of the signs if and when this is approved. And then we plan to do this again probably towards the end of the year if we get any new additions.
Thank you. Thank you. The motion's moving. The next is a motion to approve the monthly contract with Code Elevator, which is quite necessary. The monthly contract with the elevator is to serve any issues at the parking garages. Any other details that you care?
So I just sent it to Bill. I don't know. I'm sorry. This is not a contract. This is just the hourly rates for a new company that we're using while we fix up some of the elevators and get them ready to go out for RFP because they have some work to be done. So this is the company that's been helping us with the bicentennial garage elevator issues. They've been great so far. They were recommended by our third-party consultant that's doing our assessment.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Any comment from anyone in attendance? The few of you that are left, yes. Okay, good. So moving on to smart growth.
Okay, there are a few points. There are two issues that that will be coming up in front of the zoning hearing board. The first one is on Spring Grove Lane, and it is regarding the impervious coverage and dimensional relief for the creation of an addition to a home there. The question is whether we want to recommend that the solicitor attend the zoning hearing. The team, I should say, the committee voted 2-1 that no solicitor would be necessary. So we'd like to add that to consent, I guess. Second one.
Wait a minute.
Sorry.
So first you ask us.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Questions from council?
Yeah, we already gave this property permission to fill in the swimming pool so they can build the addition onto their property. So that's probably why there's no need for us even to send somebody to oppose it, because we were already given them conditional approval to expand the property. So makes sense. I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Public comment, questions? Okay. Second one is 138 West Magnolia Street. West Magnolia Street, the house is a twin. People bought the house several years ago. It is one of, I think, roughly half of the houses on the street that are just homes for mostly owner occupied. And the other half are student homes. And the owners would like an exception to change to add capability to rent this out as a student home. For this one, the committee recommended 3-0 that a solicitor be in attendance at the zoning hearing board. Any questions from the council?
I just have a quick question. So to be a student rental, you have to meet like 6 different requirements. These guys apparently don't meet 5 of them. So the taxpayers have to spend money to send a solicitor to argue this. That's how it works. It has to be a solicitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with that. It's a
Do we
question
let
of
you
policy.
speak or just if you sit
Hey,
here? Because
How's that work, Tom?
That worked out.
if it's by word, then we'll just have Sean explain it.
Act at the direction of council. So could the zoning officer go there and oppose it? I suppose. Whether that carries as much weight as a solicitor attending and raising legal issues, probably not.
Gotcha.
But I would tend to agree with you. This applicant is asking for a lot that they're not entitled to.
So will you both be there, the zoning officer and you? Okay, good. Thank you. Just clarification as to how this works.
I think of it as a signal for what Borough Council wants, if we send the solicitor or not, too. Yeah.
We don't need it. Dana, when was the last time we agreed to give a student house? 2010? Right. Yeah.
Yeah, some of us thought you couldn't do it
Yeah.
anymore, but
We were not giving any more student rental permits, correct? Yeah.
Sean explained the other night that the reason there's so many hurdles to go over to get a student house is because essentially we don't want any more. So they have to really go through hurdles.
Okay, any public comment for this? See no one? Okay, moving on. There are 4 HARB applications. And the issue is consider a motion to approve the January HARB Certificate of Appropriateness, or HARB. The first one is 139 West Gay Street, where they want to put up a sign. The second one is 21 South Church Street, where they want to replace shutters. They want to paint the shutters, and they also have a deck in the rear that needs repair, and they want to replace that. Third one was 27 West Gay Street. There's a sign front facade that needs to be replaced and repaired and replaced, I guess. And then the last one is 225 North High Street, where this is the History Center, where they want to install a cannon with a cover and an exhibit space. And
Okay.
the HARB recommended that these all be approved, and the committee voted 3-0 to concur. Any thoughts, any comments from the council?
Diane LeBold said, we have a flag. Now we have a cannon. Downingtown better look out. Because we're coming for them.
For the record, we're not pointing the cannon at Downingtown.
Oh, okay, which way is it point?
Actually, it's pointing it downtown to the bid.
Oh, geez, okay.
Any comments from the public? Okay, thank you.
All right, finance and revenue.
A motion to approve resolution for Verizon Cable Franchise Renewal Agreement. This is something that we do periodically. 3-0 decision. Any comments? Any public comments? We could put that on consent. Motion to approve budget modification 2026-1 for police firearms capital expense. Any comments? Any public comments? 3-0. I'm going to put that on consent. Motion to certify qualifying volunteers must be certified by Borough Council for March 1st to receive real estate tax credit. And that is for members of the Westchester Fire Department. That was 3-0. Any comments, any public comments? Move that to consent. And then the following items here. We had the Barracuda software protection, $34,488. Truck repair, $20,510.68. Recycling fees, $81,000. Chemical equipment, that's salt purchase, $44,995. Civic Plus website software, $12,804.85. Eurofins, that's wastewater treatment, $24,000. Fire flow services, that's certification for departments, hose, pumps, and ladder, $13,830.85. Drancius LLC software, $20,335. OpenGov, that's 4 out of 5 years. For software, $29,406.07. Reiner's pump, that's for College Ave. That's a backup pump, $48,513. Reiner's pump, New Street Pump Station, $29,378. Rockwell Associates Arbor Consulting, $18,000. Usalco, which is phosphorus removal, $15,280. WatchKeep, that's remote recovery for our servers, $34,186. And network engineering support, $12,960, all approved, 3-0. Any questions? Any public comment? All right, move that to consent.
All right, Lisa, you're up. Act Committee.
Hello, pay attention. Administration, Communication, and Technology, just one item to consider, and that's whether to change Westchester Borough's main URL webpage URL to a .gov. This was brought up by one of the council people. After discussing it in committee, it was a 2-1 vote against doing this. But I will let Stephen say kind of why he's for it, and then we'll talk to our chief website guru expert for his thoughts. Steve?
Thank you. Again, I'll be brief. I just want to encourage that the .gov would be better, and it tends to enhance public trust, improve perceptions of legitimacy, reduce confusion with private entities, and helps residents immediately recognize the official sources and enforcement and compliance context. There are issues related to .gov for cost and technology. My thrust is on the psychology that the borough has adopted this .com concept, and it's a business link. It's known as business. If you get an email from something that says .com, you expect it to be a business. WestchesterPublicLibrary.org, Westchester Area Daycare Center.org, Westchester Area Senior Center.org, et cetera, except for the Chamber of Commerce, which is, come on, you can say it, .com. You know? Okay. That's what we expected to see. Westchester University.edu. It's quite unique. So I feel that it's strong emphasis that the .gov would be important. We've heard discussion about the technology that's going to be difficult to change. It is not impossible to change. There's going to be some related costs to change, but it's not insurmountable. I've found some information that the cost actually would be negligent, very negligent. And the technology is fairly simple to adopt. Now, Mr. Mann may disagree, but I believe that it's not, I think it's doable within 90 days. And it would have a much better impact for the community that we move away from the .com concept. Psychologically, internally, I think it affects how we think about things. I think we think of, hey, let's cancel residential parking permits. Oh, then we'll lose a lot of money. That's not the way to think about it. We want to help the residents of the community. We don't want to think revenue first. Parking garages. We don't want to think revenue first. We want to think parking. We don't want to have parking garages with special events that have.
Stay focused on the URL.
Okay. All right. Well, the idea is that it affects us psychology, that we think financially first instead of being what we're supposed to be, like the police, serve and protect. The government of the county should be serves.gov. It should be readily identifiable and immediately seeable. And just to conclude my remark, who can say if we'll change for the better? But because I know you, we will change for Gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. And now I'll ask Bill Mann, our Chief Information Security Officer, to kind of tell us a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of this.
This stuff's not come easy to me. I've been here 40 years. I've only been in dissent from the dais 3 times that I can recall. Put a lot of thought into that. Twice when they wanted us to go to the county for dispatch. And I sat up here and I said, no, it's not in our best interest. And the other time was when we had our last radio system, and I thought the high bid was the better option and not the low bid. And thank goodness the Borough Council went with the high bid. They're the only 2 times in all my years that I felt like this, like I'm in dissent. And I'll say a couple of reasons why. Number one, 30 years of branding is important. Our community has been using Westchester.com since 1996. A change would introduce confusion, where today there is no confusion. Not once has any organization or any individual asked us why we are not .gov until now. Number two, 30 years of integrations is important. A change to .gov would introduce configuration changes to everything from Microsoft services or voice services or firewall services or cybersecurity services. I'm glad the police chief is here. The police body and car cameras, networking services, and much more. Much of this would result in time and money being expended, and I believe it is unnecessary. Most local governments do not use .gov. You are correct. Many of them do use .org. It is important to remember, technically, .org and .com are exactly the same thing. It's just bunch of letters. It means nothing to people today. For us, there is no cybersecurity benefits to moving to .gov. It must be noted, and if anyone watches the news, they know that organizations using .gov sites are struck down successfully in cyber attacks every year. My last presentation, I think, pointed out 6 of them, including the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA. So recently, this is number 5. Recently, we have seen multiple federal government shutdowns. This would impact our ability to get technical support during these time periods. Today, the Department of Homeland Security ironically, is shut down. This is the agency that would have access to our domain information and our configuration. We could risk the federal government having control of our website or its content. Why introduce these risks to our organization to go to .gov? Number 6, the confusion this change would cause would be significant. The risk to public safety and government services would be significant, especially during the configuration process, and it could not be done in 90 days. The cost to work with our connected service providers would be significant. These are all private sector companies. They are not going to reconfigure all of our services for no cost. And yes, the time needed by our IT department would be significant. I'm almost done. Number 7, the only change I recommend is forwarding westchester.org, which we own, we purchased that many years ago, to westchester.com. So in the event that anyone would type in westchester.org, they would land on our website. We own all the different domains except .gov because, yes, you do need to go through the federal government to do that, and we have never gone that route. So I strongly discourage a change to .gov. So that's my opinion on this. I don't know how. A coworker asked me today, how much would it cost? And I said, I don't know. But I do know I have at least 20 to 25 connected services that I would have to get in contact with and ask them. So to say it would be manageable, I don't know how we know that. I think something like this would take a year of research and planning and conversation. It is not an easy choice, and I think it's today unnecessary. People do not type in .gov. I do not believe they even see it. They just type in Westchester Borough and they land on our webpage. Thank you.
So I think it was, and I don't want to speak for Jerry, but when we looked at the cost, when we looked at the manpower, when we looked at the huge number of interfaces, the possible interruptions in service, the fact that of the 72 municipalities in Chester County right now, 1 or 2 are the only ones that use .gov. There were just so, and the reason is why, and as Bill said, we have to get that .gov URL from the federal government, who then controls that high-level interface and domain, and that has now been moved under Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security. And I think there are a lot of Westchester residents who don't want their website under the control of Homeland Security. So for those reasons and many others, we recommended 2-1 against.
Yeah, so we had the same discussion pretty much from Bill last week that we had tonight. And Ms. Kearns and I were in agreement that, as I said, probably 5 times during the meeting last week, I'm not sure that the climb or the view is worth the climb. I just think that a use of a lot of resources, dollars, people, hours, and there's an opportunity cost, right? Because the IT department has a lot of things going on all the time. And so to say, basically put this as your highest priority and put everything else on the back burner, I think any project they might have in mind would just be delayed even further. So I just think it's a lot to ask. I don't see that the payoff is really there. If we could go back in time and go to .gov, I think we'd be better. Not that much better. You know, we've established this long history of using .com, and I just don't see, again, talking with other people as well, that there's enough of a benefit to make it worth our while.
Any other comments by council or questions?
I think Sean has, but yeah.
Sean?
Sorry, it's getting late. I don't think this was put forward as a discussion item for tonight. Don't think transactionally it makes sense to put this item back to committee because we had an exhaustive conversation. Everyone has stated their opinions clearly, and Bill made a PowerPoint. Thank you. So I think what would be the right thing to do if we put it on tomorrow's discussion agenda so that we can have a vote on this. I'm guessing, I don't know where the other, since we're at this meeting to decide what we're going to discuss or consent to tomorrow night, I might recommend that you bring this matter to a head so you can take a vote on it tomorrow under discussion, unless you think otherwise, Madam President, because you can order this back to committee too if you want.
No, I think discussion is the right place for it to go at this point in time. I mean,
We don't move it to consensus because.
because we're going to discuss it a little bit more.
Move it to consent because there's a difference of opinion.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
what I was
So
wondering.
all it takes to put something on discussion agenda is one dissenting voice tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
When we get to consent tomorrow, it'll basically be a bunch of things that we just all vote on. And so it
That
would
means
get lumped
six-
in.
That means 6 out of 6 for all of those. 7.
So it doesn't always land 7-0 on the, but it could, because most likely we're already all aligned going into it. Yeah.
Yeah, this is somebody will make a motion, it'll be second, and then we'll go through and say yes or no. And it'll be real clean and real fast.
Thank you.
For each item on tomorrow's discussion agenda, we'll have separate motion, second, conversation, and roll call vote. So I'm suggesting, if it's okay with council, the motion would read motion to change from .com to .gov for Westchester Borough domain name. And then that would be motioned and seconded and voted on tomorrow night. If you want to bring it to, I think it's right for a vote. That's my opinion.
Yeah, seems like we're all good with that. All right, we are now to other business. Mayor, you're up. Put down your phone. Well, or is it, well, this, other business?
I'll be really quick. Oh, sorry, Your Honor.
Oops.
It's late for all of us at 9:02.
I've made selections for promotions for the Westchester Police Department, and I'm going to have Chief Lee announce them.
I'm very happy to announce, and I'll do it quickly since we're late, but happy to announce after the arduous civil service process for promotions that began months ago, Corporal Jerry Ferriola is being nominated for promotion to sergeant, as well as Corporal Brendan McGeehan nominated to promotion for promotion to sergeant. Officer John DiBattista is nominated for promotion to corporal, as well as Officer Robert M. Keene, who is being nominated for promotion to corporal. The mayor's made those selections. That was her selection was the last part of the civil service process that this board authorized late last year. So I'd ask you to put that on consent so we can move forward, and then we'd announce the swearing in date after you do that. Thank you.
Just to clarify, because I'm a stickler for this kind of stuff with civil service rules and procedure, mayor has made nominations for promotions. The nominations require borough council to approve them. So the motion should read motion to approve nominations of approvals. So as Chief Lee read them.
Thank you.
Any questions from anyone? Any questions from anyone in the audience? All right, so we'll put that on consent. All right, item B, I asked to put this on here, the discuss Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan. I just wanted to make sure that we all had an opportunity to ask Keith any questions before we got to the public hearing tomorrow, in case there was anything you needed to come back and help answer or what have you. So I know, thank you for staying late, Keith, while we're here, and so.
May I make a statement first? Again, Keith Krauske, Director of the Parks and Rec Department. Nice to see some familiar faces and some new faces. If you ask me a question about what's on page 165, I can't answer that. It's a 290-page document. It's a healthy document, and I just want to say that this, while it took us a year and a half, 18 months, a little plus to get to this point, It was well needed. The last time this plan was updated was 1992. It's been discussed at several different levels of our government in the last 12 to 15 years. And about 18 to 24 months ago, was decided, hey, we need to get on this because there's some fees that come into play, especially our rec fee in lieu of, that need to be addressed and updated. We worked with the consultants, JMT, Johnson, Mir Moran, and Thompson, along with Tool Recreation Planning, to update this plan. They were instrumental. They were heavily involved from the get-go. They probably were sick and tired of hearing from me because I had a ton of questions. We had never done this under my purview here at the borough before. I wanted it to be in-depth, and in-depth it definitely is. One thing you will note through the 6 levels of what this plan is. The number 1, Parks for All. Number 2, Go Westchester. 3, Active Westchester. 4, Sustaining What We Have. 5, A Borough Ready for the Future. And 6, Investing in Our Community. They all have similar ties moving forward. A lot of that is going to come down to really maintenance, upkeep, connectivity, and how are we going to support these things moving forward in an ever-growing, dense populated borough as far as population base, but we're not growing as far as any size. And we're trying to look at ways to stay above the curve. As I've said before in many other meetings, Westchester is a grade A city, grade A borough in many, many facets. Our parks have taken a bit of a backseat in some of those aspects, and we need to really bring them to the forefront, from whether it be staffing, training, our public works department, who I work with literally daily to upkeep our parks, and just making sure that, we're talking about landscapes and everything else that we do in the borough. The parks need to be remain up there too. We have a wonderful set of friends groups that advocate for our parks and support our parks, but a lot of owners they take that they shouldn't have to. We should be leading that charge. And I know there's different or difficult financial decisions made every year. I just want it to be that this plan makes sure that we keep parks and our open space a priority. One thing I heard earlier is, I think it was Mr. Flynn said, hey, if we move Public Works building, we put in a new parking garage. I would love to see the top of that parking garage be considered an open space, or like an urban open space that you see in Philadelphia or something along those lines. There's no revenue from that there would be from the parking garage. So those are things we have to keep in mind. Again, if you want to ask me theoretical questions or things of where we want to go with this plan, it's the tip of the iceberg. This is going to be, I've used this term before, it was going to be my Bible. That's not the case. This is our atlas. This is our roadmap for the next decade on how we want to get things done in the order of which we should get them done. I said there was, I don't know, a half dozen or more steering committee meetings. There were public meetings. Our consultants met at several of our large events and invited the public to come up and speak with them and give them information. We had a public survey that lived online and still lives online that I think at last check was like 700 or 800 people had filled out the information for. So it's been publicly vetted. It's now bringing it to light. It's going through the Chester County Planning Commission, who we received the grant from to support the overall project. It was an $80,000 project. They're giving us almost half of that once this is adopted by resolution by council. It was approved by our planning commission, and it's coming before you guys to review. Like I said, I can't answer a specific this, that, or do we need to add a tree here or that. Those things will be vetted out as we move along the process. But the overall theory of what we're trying to do with this and kind of bring things up to snuff, if we waited 30 years to adopt or update our comprehensive plan, we'd be crazy. So I know we're going to be doing that, I think, next year, as a matter of fact. So, God willing, I might be back here in 10 years speaking to you again, saying we need to do this again, but hopefully I'll have a huge checklist of things we've accomplished in that time to show you what we've accomplished. So with that being said, please fire away. I'm a little tired, but I'll do the best I can.
What it is, with everything that we anticipate doing.
Sure.
You have to come to council in budgetary time, like May or June, and tell us the priorities so that we can actually fund the dream.
Absolutely.
Because if it's like our parking evaluation that we did a couple of years ago, it's sitting on a shelf somewhere and no one looks at it, okay? Oh, okay, one person out of 17,000.
Parking director.
352, one person. But anyway, we got to make sure that we properly fund whatever you're going to do or nothing will get done.
Understood.
Make sure you have the good numbers.
And just to that point, this document is currently living 2 feet above my head of where I sit, and I reference it almost every day. Just for example, a good portion of this plan deals with connectivity and how we're going to promote Westchester as a more non-vehicular modes of transportation type town. There's already been preliminary or early discussions with SEPTA and some other folks about bringing in a Turk's Head Trail and how that Turk's Head Trail would potentially connect to our neighbors to this north, south, east, and west. That's going to take years to get done, but we're already starting to lay the groundwork for that. Every grant opportunity we have the opportunity of getting for, which again also goes back to staffing and training, is again, grants are awesome. Free money is fantastic, but some of them are more challenging to write than others, and that they're time consuming. But we'll be applying to DCNR, DCED, the county, DVRPC, all these different acronyms and different people that hold big purses of money that we want to get after to help promote these different plans or projects within the plan. I will be working with the Rec Commission, and the consultants haven't dropped me. Although they've met their fulfillment and their requirement of what was asked of them for the plan, I've still talked to them maybe once or twice a week, give them an idea of what's going on and how things are going here at the borough. So I plan on coming back to you when it comes to budgetary times, and here's a list. Here's what we're looking to do in the next 3 years, and we'll lay that out internally before we bring it to you. Here's what we're looking at in 5. Here are the things we're working on for 10. It's going to be a heavy lift, and like I said, when I first got into this almost 2 years ago, this particular plan, I said, I'm bringing on a ton more work, and that's okay because it needs to get done. These are things we really need to take a look at. And I think Westchester will be a better place in 10 years because of this plan.
So that kind of build off what Bernie said, and it's 290 pages. Looking at that, can you identify priorities? Do you
Absolutely.
know? I mean, it's got so many different things in there that you want to do. How do you narrow it down, or how do you pick out what you really want to do?
From an overall scope of things, I mean, we have to look at maintenance absolutely first and foremost. We need to create a better maintenance plan, and that may be coming back to council and looking for staffing, whether that be full-time or part-time. We need to look for training for that staff. That's first and foremost. We have to maintain what we already have, in my opinion. We also, and as weird as this may sound, because the two kind of contradict, one of the themes within the plan itself, it says that, hey, we're an awesome borough, everything's great. We have 43.5 acres of parkland, and per capita, we are significantly underserved. Well, we just can't come up with 100 acres of parkland. So we have to look for creative ways, rooftop, open park space areas, like you mentioned earlier about potential brownfields or things that are in the borough that we could build upon. Anything we can do, but we need to look to acquire those properties before they're gone and there's absolutely nothing left. So we have to keep our eye on maintenance. We have to look at acquisition, but to the heart and root cause of it, we have to look at funding. We try the best we can within the department to go after all the funding sources we have available. But I think we need a longer, more overarching theme of how we want to go about that. And within the plan, under plans for the future, it goes into some of those details, which are the discussions we'll be having at the committee and council levels, I'm sure, over the next several months.
Just seem like you can so many things you can do with this, and you can pick out, okay, maintenance, although they didn't say maintenance was the first thing you should do. So that was my question.
I think creating a maintenance plan is important.
I'm not opposed to it. I was just wondering how this plan gives you priorities. It really doesn't so much as.
Well, I think it lays out what the public sees, what we've seen, what the consultants see, and then I think we're also going to have to lay that in internally. And the Rec Commission will be very involved with this. They had 2 members on the steering committee as well. And I really don't want the steering committee to completely go by the wayside either. I mean, they can stick around and help us implement the plan if that would be, the purview of the council, because they're the ones that created this subset to begin with.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback a little bit. Like, I was overwhelmed even by the short term. I was like, there's no way. So I mean, even before budget time, I feel like, I mean, I do program delivery at my job. And so we have PORs, right? You know, and you got the POR and it's got, you know, hundreds of things that everybody wants to do. And then you got to, like, are you going to establish some kind of POR? And
That's the game plan. And we're going to try and figure out what are the next steps within this plan. It does lay them out to a degree, but it's really up to us to determine what those are going to be. How are we going to establish? There's 35 different things we could do in the next 3 years. There's 10 different things we'd be working on for the next 5.
Do you think you'll have like a first pass of that?
Once adoption takes place, I'll be taking it. I didn't want to take it before the rec commission in any significant format. They've all gotten a chance to read through it as well, but that's where we'll be doing most of the vetting from. And another thing that's mentioned in the plan as well is, you know, we want to think holistically. Again, we have the big 3 parks here in the borough. They seem to get the most love. They have the largest advocacy groups, but it's the parks that don't have the large groups that need really the most support. Then that's where I want to focus our attention. I don't want to take anything away from the groups that are there and everything they've done in the past, but we need to think about the groups, the parks that don't have that voice that speaks up for them. And we've been trying to do that. It's just been a challenge.
Keith, I have a couple, almost like an overall assessment of what this is. It feels more like an analysis. Like we did a lot of research, we spent a lot of time talking to people, and we looked around some pictures and all that stuff. It's more like an analysis with recommendations moving forward.
Well, it's a planning document. It's not like.
But like the first, in the 6 big moves, there's 3 parks here. And the first thing it says is we need to create, develop and implement a master plan for these parks. And I kind of thought that maybe that's what we were getting out of this document. But it's more like an overall assessment of the condition. And so it more like defines next steps to, I think, what Lisa was getting to too. But who would do that then? Like, who would develop a master plan for John O'Green Park, for Hoops Park, for Horace Pippin Park? So there's another phase to this now.
Absolutely. And with all of them, like there's some, like when it's talking about John O'Green Park, we've already initiated part of that aspect where have monies in the budget set aside to repair the splash pad.
But is it a master plan? Are those just items that you're doing to improve?
Those are items items for that particular park. No, but like I said, we could do a 2-park master plan, a 5-park master plan. We can do master plans for several of the parks that'll better lay out what we're looking to do down the line. But again, this is the tip of the iceberg. This is going to be where I'm looking to put our borough dollars and our grant funding and our research moving ahead. So then again, if we just say we apply for a 3-park master plan, it's going to take 2 years to get that done. But in 3 years, we'll start putting, or in 4 years, we'll maybe start putting shovels in the ground at those parks that need that help. Obviously, like I said, the big 3 parks, Hoops, Everhart, and Marshall Square, they've kind of been a bit ahead of us because they're focused on one particular park, where we have to focus on 12 and spread our monies out over 12. It's been a challenge upkeeping with, you know, the Joneses, if you will, but I think this will help us put us in a better place and a better perspective of what we need to do. Again, there's so many goals in there that we're not going to get to probably half of them in 10 years. But if we can put together a plan to tackle, say, 15 or 20 or 25 with our long range goals still established, like a Turk's Head Trail or whatever it may be, the better connectivity within the park, because that was one of the things that the grant from the county called for. I just don't see how it can be, how it cannot be beneficial that we have this laid out. We know what the document says. To a degree, we know what it's asking for, but how are we going to get to that, those means to that end? And I think that's going to be part of my biggest job moving forward, is coming again before you, before the Rec Commission, before the Public Works Committee, and saying, here's what we're putting together. Here's the direction we're going. Do you guys not like it? Do you not see the same way as we do? Working with the Public Works Department, you know, hand in hand. I mean, we already do that to begin with, but what are they capable of in-house currently? What are they not? How do we move forward? It is an assessment, but like I said, it's a planning document. It didn't give us specifics like you have to do this immediately. It gave us some inklings of those throughout the way, but it didn't say do this 1, do this 2, do this 3. It kind of leave that a little bit up for interpretation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Me, I kind of see this as a big wish list, and then you can kind of fit everything in there at some point. But I think it's a good wish list, you know, for approval.
Yeah, and as far as sorry, I'm a little hoarse. One of the last pages is one of the last sections is the recreation fee in lieu of. that it's an ordinance that we have here in the borough. If you're building commercial or residential, you owe us X amount of dollars or X amount of space. That needs to be updated. I think we've missed out on some opportunities probably over the last 10 to 12 years where we could have gotten some bigger dollars that we haven't gotten. But that needs to be updated. That's an ordinance that needs to be passed by council or adopted by council. And hopefully through that ordinance, we can also determine, all right, well, with the assessment we're doing, here are the monies that we're going after for this assessment. Like we know how many projects are in the WIMS right now, 5 or 6 major projects, the Wyeth property being the biggest one. The last assessment was we would get $420,000-ish, give or take, for that project. $420,000 can go a long way if it's partnered with grant funding, and we can turn that into double that amount. So if and when that occurs.
So I think the planning commission, the last meeting I was at, they were talking about the fee in lieu, so.
Yeah, yes, they were.
Yeah, they've already even started on that, and I think they started on that a while. Yeah, so that's good. Any other questions for tonight? Any questions from anyone sitting in the audience? Okay, so this doesn't move anywhere except for we've got the hearing tomorrow.
Correct.
So thank you for
Thank you.
taking the time. All right. Hopefully last but not least, motion to approve payment of snow emergency expenses and modify 2026 budget.
So the attachment for this item is posted. It shows a bar graph of expenses that we've accumulated over the 2-week period. We talked a little bit about this in committee last week when the information was ripe and we were able to bring it forward. This was a pretty easy storm in terms of the response and the preparation phase. Where we got really whacked here was the recovery phase. That was the 12 days after the snow stopped, where temperatures didn't get above 32 degrees, and we spent a lot of time literally picking up snow with lifting devices, moving it and dumping it in the mayor's front lawn. And we will be, there's a nice double black diamond there over by Hoops Park now. Where we ran into trouble was in the second week of recovery. We needed to call in extra resources, and we tripled our in-house snow removal capabilities by contracting with 2 contractors. And that's where we started to run up large expenses. We have $55,000 budgeted in our liquid fuels budget for winter maintenance expense. That is not enough. This one kind of caught us a little off guard because in my 5 years, we haven't had a haul and dump operation after a snowstorm. So I think going forward, we should have an item in our budget, not just for snow emergencies, but other types of emergencies that can come up in public works, which I did experience in my first year here. If you all remember September of 2021, Tropical Storm Ida came to town, dumped 7 inches of rain over 6 to 8 hours, I think it was. 7 inches is a 100-year storm. And we had major stormwater infrastructure damage on South Franklin Street. So we had a big sinkhole on South Franklin Street. We needed to call somebody up and get out here and help us because we only have 1 backhoe to help us repair that. And fortunately, we didn't incur those costs because the federal government declared an emergency. So we were able to go to FEMA and get reimbursed for those. We had to outlay the money, but we got the money back within 10 to 12 months of spending it. We did not get there's no goose laying golden egg here to help with these costs with this snowstorm. In my borough manager's report, I talked a little bit about lessons learned here. First of all, we need to document our recovery plan so we can analyze it and discuss it and understand where there are gaps. There were some things in the preparation phase we could do better to have more of our equipment up and running during the snowstorm. We also needed some training, more training for staff, because believe it or not, there's quite a bit of skill that comes into operating a plow on our streets. And so there were times when our director had to hop out the truck and go advise people operating plows on how to do a better job on the street.
So there's training that needs to take place. I really thought our response was very good and the integration with police department. Thank you, Josh, and your team. We were able to identify cars that needed to be towed. The police were announcing the need to move those cars, and I think the response was pretty good. And I think we did a decent job of at least keeping the snow emergency routes passable during the storm. But where we got bit was after the snow stopped, and we had streets that had only been plowed down the center because we had cars in parking spots. And we needed then to start orchestrating, really choreographing movement of parked cars and plows so that we could effectively clear people's parking spaces for them. And I think that's what we need to do a better job of. And when we have these large recovery events. So lessons learned from this experience for sure. And I think that, going back to where this meeting started with me talking about how we've done well over the last 4 years financially. We have a reserve fund. If you look at our profit and loss statements over the last 4 years in our budget, it's in the first couple pages of our budget. You see we've done well. So we have reserves to help pay for this thing. What we're asking for tonight is a financial transaction from the Borough Council. We can't spend money that's not budgeted. We just blew the budget up. We just blew it out of the water. So we're asking for cash reserves to cover these third-party expenses so that we could pay these invoices and move forward.
So you know what my one question is. They tell me not to look at it, but I'm looking at Sunday and Monday. And if I know you guys are kind of waiting for a couple of days.
We make decisions 72 hours out, but yeah, I've seen the preliminary. For sure. I'm doing all sorts of prayer and different types of cosmic interventions to raise the temperature on Sunday to hopefully 35, 36 degrees. But we'll know more on Thursday. That's when we'll meet and talk about it.
I have a question about the process in terms of when we decide to bring contractors in and knowing what the expense is going to be, and the fact that it's an emergency. Are we supposed to approve this in advance as a council before we look at a $173,000, $195,000 bill? I just don't know what the process is. It's more just for my own edification.
When any kind of emergency happens, we had one on Christmas Eve, not this year, but last year, where we had to call out a contractor because we had an emergency sewer leak. It was in East Bradford Township. I was in West Goshen Township. I forget where the boundary is on the north side of town. So I got a call that day on Christmas Eve, late in the day, from the Public Works Director and the panicked wastewater director. And I said, yeah, go ahead, do what you need to do, bring somebody in to help clean that up and make sure it's reported to DEP. So there's choices I make as the Chief Executive Officer like that I say, yeah, it's more important that get done, get handled. That's a public safety issue. It's triage, right? Like, what's the first thing they tell you in EMT? You make sure they can breathe and the heart's beating and they're not going to bleed to death, right? So you check those three things. So I triage things, and the quickest way to triage is verbally, over the phone, make a quick decision. So I need that flexibility to do emergent spending. Then I have to come back and report to you as the authority that opens and closes the purse strings. What happened? Why did it happen? And what do we need to cover it? So I think that's what I'm doing tonight. I also think that, and I also want to make sure that we are prepared for the next one. I think there needs to be a line item in the public works budget for general contractor expenses. I'm not really sure what the number should be year over year. I don't think we should be putting 175 in it every year and then banking the rest because we dodged a bullet. We didn't have any of these snow events in the last 5 years. I can't tell you what it's going to be. It's a really volatile expense line item. But I'll always make decisions, not unilaterally. I'll do it with my team to address problems and spend money um, to address the issue. And then I'll bring the spend back to this board after it's happened, sort of a post facto authorization for the spending. If
And
there
how
needs
do
to be
you choose-
greater integration with council through that process, tell me, I can do that. It's not a problem. I can.
It needed to be done. I was just more,
Make one more
Yeah.
phone call. That's easy. It's an easy phone call to Nicole or a group.
yeah, or to Brian as chair of finance, or I just wasn't sure how that was.
And
supposed-
how do you choose the contractor?
Well, we did that through people who were available. And what I'd rather do is bid out these. We used to have a bid that went out in we just approved what, 10 bids? In that process, we used to bid something out 3-4 years ago. We stopped. I'll have to do the forensics as to why we did that, but we bid out hourly rates for this kind of work. And we knew we had an identified contractor. I think the last time we had one, the contractor was Duraco. And we could pick up the phone and say, hey, Duraco, we need you on Franklin Street. There's a hole in the street. And they would show up. And then
So that might be worth-
at competitively bid rates.
Did a great job. It was a dance watching them work with all the trucks, but I was curious as to how they were chosen. And it sounds like there was a kind of a method we used before that we might want to look at again.
Yeah, with Public Works, the past Public Works director didn't think that we needed to do that. He thought that we could handle with our different trucks. And we were wrong because we always had somebody on call if we needed them to fix something, especially snow in downtown. And lessons learned, and I mentioned to Sean, as soon as after this thing hit, that we should start a fund just for emergencies like this in Public Works for who else knows what else is going to happen, especially snow. We haven't really got whacked, for 10 years roughly. So we did let our guard down, but we should have a bucket, money used for that and other things, just like capital expenses. So, and to your point with Mr. Metric, we do have safeguards in our purchasing policy. The after the fact request is in there. Sean Mitchell's had to do that a couple times on the weekends where he needed a part for $10,000 that, had to fix it.
Yeah.
And then we just talk about it, common sense.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a public meeting. It's a big expense. I figured we should at least share that dialogue with whoever might watch it later, just so that they understand.
This is probably the biggest version expense I've seen.
That's the thing. If you put in like $100,000, like if something like this comes along, you'll probably still blow it out of the water. And it's like, but I mean, it's kind of I think part of it too is the fact that you've been managing the cash reserves and it's there in case you need it. So, yeah.
We didn't have cash reserves.
I know.
So
Oh.
with Sean doing his due diligence, we have cash reserves. So at his point, we could actually have the money there, so.
All right, any questions from anyone? All right, so I think this moves to consent.
Terry, I heard you were doing karaoke in St. Martin. You want to sing lullaby? Want to sing a lullaby to us? Okay. No, it's okay. It's 80 degrees in here.
Oh, wait a minute, you can do a duet with Steven.
I will not sing.
All right. Any other business? Otherwise, okay, it is 9:33. We are adjourned.